I'm going to call this meeting to order. Today is a regular meeting of the Commissioners Court of Hood County, Texas. It is February the 14th, 2023. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody, especially you, Ms. Lantham, here. You look very nice. We're in the central jury room of the Ralph H. Walton Jr. Justice Center at 1200 West Pearl Street in Granbury, Texas. We're very pleased and honored today to have with us Diane Raspberry with the Hope Community Church to give us the invocation. Please.
Let's pray. Father, we thank you so much for this day. We thank you for all the love and the blessings that you pour into our lives each day. Father, we ask that you give us wisdom and discernment as we go through this meeting. Father, I ask that you help us to remember that as we honor one another, we honor you. And Father, I ask that everything that's done and said today be an honor and glory to you. And Father, we just proclaim right now that you are our God, the one and only true God, and we are your people, and we give all honor and praise and glory to you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now the Church of Texas.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Now, before we get into the special awards presentation, I want to remind everybody that today you have the opportunity for the open mic. If you fill out a public participation form, and so far I only have one speaker that has signed up for this. And I was asked this week about, can they just talk about anything on open mic? And no, you cannot talk about anything. This is what the bylaws of the Hood County Commissioners Court state. It's the intention of the Commissioners Court to provide open access to the citizens of Hood County to address the Commissioners Court and express themselves on issues of county government. The bylaws go on to say that the Commissioners Court is a constitutional court, as also having executive and judicial privileges, and that members of the public in attendance at any regular, special, or emergency meeting of the court shall conduct themselves with proper respect and decorum in speaking to and or addressing the court, or in participating in public discussions before the court, and in all actions in the presence of the court. Proper attire for men, women, and children is mandatory. Those members of the public who are inappropriate attire and or who do not conduct themselves in an orderly and appropriate manner will be ordered to leave the meeting. Refusal to abide by the court's ruling and order and or continued disruption of the meeting may result in a contempt of court citation. The bylaws go on further to say it is not the intention of the Hood County Commissioners Court to provide a public forum for the demeaning of any individual or group. Neither is it the intention of the court to allow a member or members of the public to insult the honesty and or integrity of the court as a body, or any member or members of the courts individually or collectively. Accordingly, profane, insulting, threatening language directed toward the court and any person in the court's presence, and or any racial, ethnic, or gender slurs or epithets will not be tolerated. These rules do not prohibit public criticism of the Commissioners Court including criticism of any act, omission, policy, procedure, program, or service. If you want the whole complete bylaws, they can be furnished. You can ask Ms. Melissa Welburn at HR, or you can come by my office and my assistants will give you a copy of these bylaws. And this is something that's been in effect for a long time, but we iterated by this court and all the subsequent courts. So the next item Let me get these on here. Okay. The next item is a very big honor for our community at large, and this is a special recognition to recognize a really great public servant of Hood County who has given himself so selflessly and has played such a major role in the safety of our county, especially for the years of COVID and now. Where are those? And this is Dr. Dan Blocker. Would you please come down here and be recognized? I'm good to see you. Come here out here. I want to say something here so everybody can see this. Stand in front of here. I want to tell you a little bit about this man here. Dr. Blocker is board certified for public health and general preventive medicine through 2032. But he has been so certified for the last 20 years. Very few physicians, very few counties in the state of Texas have anybody that's board certified or even certified in this preventive medicine. This is very, very important to our county. And he's our local, this is most important, he's the local public health authority. Dr. Blocker serves as the interface between the state of Texas and the community, including government, schools, churches, business, and individuals, to help connect them with public health support and preventive medicine. That's huge, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Blocker works closely with the Office of Emergency Management to help coordinate COVID-19 responses. During the COVID-19 challenges, Dr. Blocker served on numerous committees, such as the Hood County Unified Response Team, providing guidance on how to respond to COVID-19, medical tracking, interpretation on medical directives, and countless hours of support. That's a slight exaggeration. It's more than countless hours. He also served on the Granbury ISD Medical Advisory Board, which was huge for the school, providing the school district with public health guidance and updates. Dr. Blocker made himself available for weekly meetings and numerous phone calls, and continues to provide hours of medical updates, support, and guidance to all local leaders. Despite managing a growing, busy schedule and practice, Dr. Blocker has offered countless hours of volunteer sessions and guidance over the past 4 years to Hood County, the Office of Emergency Management, Granbury Independent School District, and local leaders. The Hood County Judge, the Commissioner's Court, and the community leaders are forever grateful for the contribution and countless hours Dr. David Blocker has provided to benefit our staff and our community. Dr. Blocker is truly a public hero. Thank you very much. This guy has done a lot of stuff in this community, I'm telling you, really. That's small. That's small. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate your support and your continued support. Don't go anywhere.
I'm here. Sign me up for at least 2 more years.
That's right. We will give you a lot more than that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Congratulations. Okay, now we have And I think I have all of them here. We're now in what we refer to as the open mic. Oh, holy smoke. And all this excitement up here, I forgot Dr. John Dreyfus, that's who I call him. He's a real PhD up here, and he's with Patrick. Are you going to give him guidance too and moral support up here too?
That's right.
Okay.
He's going to call me out when he needs to, so
Well,
thank you, Judge.
you talk about somebody that's another real important partner with Hood County, and that's the Luminant Nuclear Plant, and especially these two guys here that are with us today, John Dreyfus, Patrick. They're really important. Thank you all for being here, and give us a status update. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Judge Massengill and Commissioners. Good morning. Appreciate you having us here and giving us the opportunity to provide some information to you all. It was Judge Samuelson that reached out to, or I'm sorry, Commissioner Samuelson that reached out to me and asked me to, do some information, make some presentations, and really answer any questions that you might have on this. So thank you, Commissioner. Really appreciate the invite. Comanche Peak is a vital asset in the community. Again, we have been in operation since 1990 and 1993 for Units 1 and Units 2, respectively. And just like your driver's license, the plants are issued a license for a 40-year period. So with that 40-year period, there's a regulatory option to allow for a license renewal, and it's a pretty mature process. We are one of the last plants to be going through it. So it's been developed well, and we have already submitted our license renewal application. And now we're in essentially the public phase of input and NRC, Nuclear Regulatory Commission review and questioning, and the ultimate authority for the license renewal beyond the NRC technical staff review is the Atomic Safety and Licensing Board. So there was a meeting January 17th. It was previously scheduled January 10th. It got deferred because of COVID. It was going to be an in-person meeting. They held a virtual meeting on the 17th, and a lot of feedback from the public was, for something of this magnitude and this importance, why not have the meeting be done again? And this was a petition by folks to the Nuclear Regulatory Commission to have an in-person meeting. So that meeting will occur, and it's scheduled for next week on the 23rd. At 7 p.m. That's Thursday, the 23rd. And it's open. It's an open meeting. There's from 6 p.m. An open house, which there'll be tables and information provided. Additionally, there'll be members of the NRC that will provide input, and then the public meeting itself will open at 7. And it's a Nuclear Regulatory Commission meeting. It is not our meeting. But it is being held in Somerville, which of course is where the plant is located. So,
Where will the meeting be?
the meeting is at the Expo Center. Thank you.
And do you just let Drew know if you need him to? Oh, you have a clicker.
I've got it.
Can you hear me? Okay. I'll move it closer there.
Very good. Okay, so I will not, read every bullet on each slide. I'll give you really the highlights. This was the presentation that the NRC provided. I have for the judge and the commissioners an additional fact sheet for your reference that sort of slims things down to a digestible chunk. But ultimately, we will talk about the process. And again, it's driven by a number of different regulations that have grown throughout the years and issued by, they're all essentially federal regulations. And the Nuclear Regulatory Commission that does the technical review of the license renewal application, their mission is purely on public health and safety. That's what they are concerned with. That is their jurisdiction, and that's where they do challenge us. So they promote, again, common defense. We have a large security force, but it's also about energy security as well. So their job is to, in addition, protect the environment. They work along with EPA on those issues as well, and a big part of license renewal has to do with the environmental aspects, and we'll get into that. This is a kind of a simplified diagram for how everything works and how the NRC provides their oversight ultimately of the nuclear industry, including Comanche Peak. So again, the regulations drive everything. We do learn from what other plants are doing, and NRC challenges us on operating experience and how well we're implementing something that might happen at another power plant. So for Comanche Peak itself, you can see the information there. As I mentioned, 1990 and 1993 was commercial operation, or operating licenses, and then commercial operation again began a short period of time after that. And again, the license renewal application is really for extending in increments of 20 years. There are a number of plants that are on their second license renewal right now and going through that process as well. Us as younger plants, newer plants, we're still on our first piece of it. So again, as I said, just like your license, it's really a piece of paper that says you're good for this 40 years. So the rest of the process is really for making sure that we've analyzed and that the NRC has analyzed whether or not there are any challenges to extending that for another 20 years. It's largely about things that don't move. We have programs that measure pumps that are rotating, and it's really all about the structures and the aging of those structures, including cabling, including any kind of environmentally assisted fatigue of component, anything like that gets looked at, and it's a harrowing process. We've had a large team of people working on this for a couple of years before we even submitted our application for license renewal. And now it's really in technical hands. And there'll be a lot of back and forth. So the aging management is the next piece that I mentioned. So that standard regulatory oversight process is now, has this added component for license renewal where they look at aging management. So the structures, as I said, any kinds of buried piping, those kinds of issues get well vetted during the license renewal process, and we end up having to make commitments to do further testing, further evaluation, new programs, those kinds of things in order to be able to, in an ongoing way, demonstrate the plant's suitability for operating past its 40-year license life. Again, this is from that NRC presentation, but ultimately, you can read that there. There is a portion of the Code of Federal Regulations that really ensures that the licensing basis for the plant is maintained on a go-forward basis. And it's all about, again, that mission of nuclear safety. So there's some interesting opportunities for public input and intervention. So that's really the phase that we have been in here. We've submitted our application. It's undergoing environmental reviews and safety reviews. That's the two main things that the NRC provides. And then if there are any hearings on any contentions that may be raised by interveners, then that goes into its own process. There are reviews ultimately by the Atomic Safety and Licensing Board, which is an independent portion of the review that gets commissioned by the NRC, but doesn't technically report to the NRC. So again, the safety review ultimately ends up, this ACRS is another one of these independent bodies that the Nuclear Regulatory Commission has at its call to be able to do the technical review and technical hearings. That's a Committee on Reactor Safeguards, Atomic Committee on Reactor Safeguards. And that ultimately ends up inputting to the NRC decision for the license renewal process. If there are hearings, they will typically go to the Atomic Safety and Licensing Board for any contentions that are ruled on and admitted into the process that may have been raised. For that was more the safety piece of it. On the environmental review, again, there's public input on that. There's a draft environmental impact statement, and that goes through a various comment period, and we're in that period now. So again, the final safety environmental impact statement gets heard if there are any issues, and the NRC makes a decision on that. And it really does depend on if there are any contentions that are allowed in terms of the time frame overall for this. So again, the environmental piece of it, it has been scoped, and what are the alternatives, et cetera, do get reviewed. And if there are any issues, they need to get evaluated that come out of that. Again, if there are any challenges for the overall scoping of the environmental impact statement, it goes through the process here. That's outlined, and it's very thorough. I have been through the process before. And then ultimately, it culminates in the public meetings that we're talking about. There have been a number of press releases, and this is where we are at right now, is in the period of addressing any comments from the public, and there'll be another public meeting, as I said, next week. So there was initially a date of 1/31 for people to get input and provide comments to the NRC. That there was a request from the public to extend that, and that was granted by the NRC, and that period is the end of March. So there is still open opportunity to provide comment. And again, this environmental impact and environmental review is pretty broad. It has to do with, radiation, water, land use, water use, impacts on the health and safety of the public, air quality. It's as broad as you can imagine from an environmental perspective, and very, very thorough. So the NRC does do a lot of coordination with both local and, for the large part, the state and federal agencies that have jurisdiction over the environmental aspects of it, and they all get to input and review it, and that part has been done. Ultimately, the NRC has to have the safety evaluation complete, which addresses the technical issues and the aging management aspects, as well as the environmental impact statement. The NRC inspection, there's a large inspection and a number of inspections of the programs that currently exist and those that we are going to commit to as part of the license renewal process. The ACRS, Advisory Committee for Reactor Safeguards, ultimately makes their determinations. And again, if there are hearings, if there are any contentions or challenges that are granted, people have standing, if they are valid, then those get heard through the Atomic Safety and Licensing Board. So it's a pretty rigorous process. There are a number of hoops that are established, and lots of opportunity for public input. So these dates are, again, old. That January 10th got extended to the 17th and is now moved to 2/23. So there'll be that additional meeting. And again, that January 30th has moved to March 31st. As far as when the rest of it, we'll get heard, or whether the rest of the dates will stick, it will really depend on the nature of the contentions and whether any hearings are granted. So, again, the draft environmental impact statement is issued, and we're expecting that the draft SER, or both the draft environmental impact statement and SER, will be later this year. They are being worked on now. So final decision by ACRS is really contingent upon whether or not hearings introduce any delays, but that's the schedule that NRC is putting out thus far with those changes that I noted. And here are some points of contact and where you can get additional information. Again, the comments are due by the end of March. The NRC has a website, and it all addresses both the process from the NRC's review for license renewal, and additionally, there are some specific pages you can get to that address the specifics of Comanche Peak and where we stand and what the status of things are in the license renewal front. So that's really the key stuff that I wanted to mention with the NRCs. Here are the project folks from NRC that are working it. If you want to speak at the public meeting, you can reach out to these individuals, and they will sign you up. If you want to attend the public meeting, it's public and it's open to all. There is a period where people can get up and speak one way or the other, and have their say in the process, which that's important. Just a couple of other points I thought I would bring up is that there's not a lot of discussion in the NRC about the impacts of Comanche Peak to the local community neighborhood. 600 permanent jobs there, nominal. Another 200 contractors that are permanent jobs there, our security force, our maintenance support services, and we all live here. We live in the local areas. Not everybody's in Hood County. A number of people are down in Somervell County. There are people up, around the plant, draw a 50-mile radius, but most of us are clustered pretty locally. What that means is we're part of the community. We participate in the community. We spend our money here. We, grace the restaurants. We bring in somewhere 1,000 to up to 1,300, 1,400 contractors every 18 months for each unit, and that kind of floods the local economy. And we really do try to work with the communities as well. A number of us are deeply involved in things that happen here in Hood County and care very much about the place. We do believe that, again, coaches and, wives are school teachers. Patrick's wife is a school teacher. So again, we are deeply embedded in the community. We care about it. We absolutely care about safety. That is our mantra: safety, quality, and schedule. And nothing trumps nuclear safety, industrial safety, taking care of our community, public health and safety, and the safety of our employers or employees and the folks that do contract work for us as well. It really does matter to us, and I can't tell you how much I want to stress that. And those of you that know us know that is true. So it is a large chunk of power. Seasonally depending, somewhere between 2,300 and 2,400 megawatts electric. So for perspective, that is enough to power somewhere on the order of 1.5 to 2 million homes. I mean, it's a large chunk of baseload, 24/7, 365, capacity factors where we can produce the rated power that we, are licensed for is on the order of 91% over the history of the plants, which is very high, higher than most industries. industries. So it's a reliable source of power. We don't issue, there's no CO2 issued from the plant during the operation of the plant. So it's again, along with wind and solar, we believe nuclear to be a clean source of power. And again, I think it's the way to go for the future, because we do have to have some baseload power out there to be able to power Texas. So there's a lot more I could talk about. I will tell you that our employees are very excited about moving forward. We're looking at all kinds of ways of doing upgrades to the plant as we continue to move the power plant forward. So with that, I'll stop and answer any questions that you might have.
Anybody have any questions? I've always wanted to question some kind of nuclear physicist on the thing, but I always thought I didn't know enough to be able to ask a question, so I don't know. Anyway, it was a very thorough presentation, and I can tell you, for one, being down there and seeing the emergency drill, that whenever the nuclear plant calls to the EOC and says they recommend doing something, I'm not going to be trying to second guess them, because I know how safety is so important to them. And the people that work there, how many years have you been at the nuclear plant, Mr. Trump?
I've been in the industry for 35 plus years. I'm not counting anymore, Judge.
Okay.
But I've been at Comanche Peak for 9 years now.
9 years.
Yes, sir.
But a lot of people have been out there for 30 years. Patrick, how long have you been there?
9 years as well.
9 years as well? Well, good. Well, you're a good partner. I just wish that we had the decision, or this Commissioner's Court could have made the decision whether or not to have that nuclear plant in Somerville or in Hood County. I think I know where my vote would have been. Oh, you're up there laughing. The property tax rate here would be a lot lower. You know that? So y'all are a good neighbor and a good source of energy. So thank you very much, and y'all are very safety oriented. So
Very good.
Thank
thank
you.
you for coming down.
you
Anybody
for
have any
coming.
questions?
Well, I was just going to let you know that I spoke with Tam Tran, and he's going to look into posting the notices not just in the Somerville paper, but also in the Hood County paper, so that we can keep up with some of the things that are going on.
That's good.
Yep.
Thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
The
you
last
so
time,
much.
for the first meeting, they did use Hood County News. I don't know if they missed them this time or not, so that's excellent.
Thank you.
All right,
Great,
thank
great
you very much.
presentation.
Commissioners, Judge, thank you.
Okay. Okay, good.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right. All right, now we have open mic. And our first speaker is Sharon Sealander. I haven't seen her in a while. Ms. Sealander.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. I have two things to speak to the court about today. The first one is a thank you. I don't know who it was that started putting the yellow blinking lights in, but in Acton at the Triangle, it has totally helped that traffic issue that we had out there.
Welcome.
So is that you, Jack?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Thank you, because we don't have that backup all the way to the Methodist Church anymore. So that's the first thing. Second thing I have is, I brought to the court a couple of months ago, and that about a dirt mound that we have on G Road. This is a fencing that a property owner has put up. And as we've had the rains in the past, and that this is starting to deteriorate and move toward the road, some of it is now even etching onto the road. So I asked my commissioner, Jack Wilson, about this, and have not received anything back, whether this is private property or whatever for sure. When I asked him after the last meeting where I showed this, I said, so, you know, he said, well, it's probably private property. Well, there's a road sign, a Texas road sign there that the post is buried halfway up with the dirt. So I don't think it's just private property. I think a lot of it is out onto the road easement. And so I never got word back whether that was true or not. Secondly, I asked Jack outside the courtroom that day, so if the dirt gets into the road, who's responsible for cleaning that up? Is that the county? And his answer was, yep. Secondly, I asked him, so does that come out of my county tax money to clean up the road? And again, the answer was yep. I don't think it's the responsibility of the citizens and their tax monies to clean up this man's mess that he's making out there. So I think it needs to be reviewed again, maybe a regulation in the county if there's not one that needs to, you know, I don't care if the man has a dirt mound on his property, that's his business, but when it starts to move into a county road, I think it's the county's business. And so there should be some type of a containment system, something that maybe is a regulation by the county to put that in place if it's not already there, so that this man's dirt doesn't move out into our roads. And then I have to drive my vehicle through it, and if I just washed it, I'm going to be pretty upset, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Brad Yarborough.
Judge, I don't wish to speak at this time.
Okay. All right, next is Michael Davis.
Sorry, I gotta pull this up. Morning.
Good.
What were you doing up at the courthouse on February 2nd, Mr. Eagle? Approximately 1 p.m. You laugh, but it's funny. Nobody was there, and you were up there, right? So do you honestly think we expect us to believe that you showed up on a day when nobody was there and didn't show up on a day when people were there? Don't you think the proper procedure before you went beaten on a historical landmark with a hammer would be called maintenance, be like, hey, we got ice on up here. Can you come get it off? Which, by the way, maintenance said there was no ice. I bet you would have if it was for honorable purposes. The whole time you were up there, you would look around trying to figure out if everybody's seeing where you were at. You thought you wouldn't get caught, but you did. Why didn't you just bring in the hammer and then either help you and then leave? But no, like you sat there and did your little swinging, You open the door and he walked right in. For 15 minutes, he was inside. Why was he inside? What purpose did he have to be inside for 15 minutes? It's a valid question. Y'all hanging out? You write this stuff down, Sing. So, since you're all about transparency, honesty, and integrity, what was he doing there for 15 minutes? Oh, and by the way, I was in Arizona for training on that day, so I wasn't there to take your pictures. So you can tell your buddy that. And you two, you really need to think about who you're aligning yourself with. All right? You know, my mom used to say that you hang out of trash, you start to stink. These people that you align yourself with are pretty stinky. All right? I mean, I don't know about me, or I don't know about y'all, but I know I would hate to be around somebody who is so morally questionable as the people that you guys align yourself with. Have that gut check moment and say, do I really want to be on this side? Thank you.
Next is Kim Burton.
Judge, I'd like to know where the presiding officer was on this comment when someone's insulting the integrity and honesty of this court.
Exactly.
I don't think that he crossed that threshold, Mr. Eagle, and you know that we're not allowed to respond in the open mic situation. So, Ms. Burton.
Good morning. I've been here once before, so thank you for your time again. I'm going to speak from my heart today. I didn't have a fancy speech prepared or overheads to look at, but I am speaking on the Yellow Viking Development 2, and I do oppose and am against it. I have had the pleasure, being new here as a new citizen, to meet many people that have come forward and expressed to each other how much they are opposed to it, how it will affect the wildlife, the home values, the loss of land, and also the integrity of the Brazos River being jeopardized because of this planned facility, which is going to cover thousands of acres. I grew up in Dallas, and I'm new here, but I grew up with a lot of farmers in the family, and so I came to appreciate that way of life, and I worked really hard to get down here. It took me a long time, but I made it. So we do appreciate the treasures of this county, and I know that the decision on this project is going to be very challenging, but I hope that you will consider all that's been learned. I know that a lot of information's been brought to you by many people, and in speaking with many residents throughout the county, we are still providing that information to the residents, trying to inform them and help them learn, just as we have, of the encroachment of this large mega solar facility and the negative effects that it will have on all of us. So I hope that as we move forward, we can tread lightly and hopefully make some really, really wise decisions so that we don't end up having the same problems, noise, pollution, among other things, loss of land, just like the big cities that a lot of us have worked so hard to escape. And I will be thinking of each of you as you make that decision. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Dr. Harold Granick. Pass. Okay. Tina Brown. Ms. Brown? Oh, there you are.
Good morning. This morning, I'd like to talk about the financial compensation inequities between county employees who have worked on the Tyler conversion. And on one hand, we have every county office except one who put their nose to the grindstone and got the job done without any promotions or salary increases. Then we have one office who refused, and because of that refusal, they now have one employee who greatly benefited by a big salary increase. Last time I was here, I asked you to do something and put this on the agenda, and you haven't. I've been informed that you can't pay bonuses after the fact, but there has to be a way to rectify this injustice. Maybe do away with the specialist job since it obviously didn't require a specialist. I don't know. I'm just looking for solutions and options. While there may be nothing illegal in what was done, it was not right and it was not fair to all the other employees who did their job instead of refusing. Y'all all have my number, my email. Let's get together. Let's figure this out. Thank you.
That concludes the open mic portion. And now we go to the consent agenda. Is there any commissioner wish to question or pull anything from the consent agenda?
Yes, Judge, I have two concerns on the consent agenda. One is they're both under, well, one of them's under purchasing. It's the number 5, approve and request exempt purchasing of the competitive bid process. I've spoken with Mr. Tillman and about this, so I'd like to pull that out. And then also, I just was needing a little bit more information on the line item transfer that's referencing an approval that was done on 8/10/22. So those are the two I'd like to pull out. Thank you.
What line item? Is C?
It's CB. Dedicated account line item transfer emergency management. Which one are you asking about? The
$4,000?
yes, and then E5.
I got 5, okay. Mr. Tillman, you want to address 5?
Actually, both of them. Yes, at 75 is withdrawn at the request of the sheriff's office. I'd also like to address the line item transfer. That was initiated by me to, we have a purchase order that's ready for payment, and it was to be paid out of Fund 101, but being a capital outlay item, I requested that the funds be moved to the capital outlay line of Fund 101 so that it's properly classified. It's not moving it from one budget to, from one fund to another, from a budget to another, but merely reclassified as capital outlay so that it's where it should be paid. And this, I believe this purchase order was for software for the Drew, could you help me?
I checked on the agenda. Actually, the court was on August the 9th, not August the 10th. And I looked through that agenda, and I didn't see any approvals for anything that related to anything that was $64,000.
No,
so
what was on that court was an approval for an interlocal agreement for the purchase of the software. It had something to do with the panel for the in the LEC. Remember, we had to have software for. Okay.
Do you want to come up
the
here and address
dispatch
this?
panel? There's some software that we had to get created for the dispatch panel and the SO. Anyway, it's a capital outlay item, and so I wanted the funds to be paid from a capital outlay account rather than from Fund 101. But the only thing that was in that court was the approval of the interlocal agreement, which gave us the lawful authority to make the purchase. It's part of the trunking system project overall.
Is this something that needs to be paid right away? I mean, are we?
It's due. I mean,
It's
we can pay it out of general funds of out of 101, but the outside auditor is going to recommend that we move it to a capital outlay account. I was trying to avoid that.
Okay.
Maybe Margaret has some
Does that
info.
satisfy you?
Oh, sorry.
Margaret, I think, has some info.
Okay, it's
Good.
for U.S. Digital Designs out of Tempe, Arizona. It is for the G2 Fire Station Alerting System, Dispatch Center System.
Okay.
There's the invoice,
Do you,
but, it's as simple as, we pay it out of a capital outlay account versus just paying it out of the general emergency management fund.
so those of you that were here on August the 9th, you remember this?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I don't remember specifically that very one, but I know that there were software dispatch.
Yeah, it's all part of the trunking system. And so basically what happened was we needed to send everything over to Arizona so that they could get the Phoenix system for dispatch all set up. So it all goes with the trunking system. It's just an extra expense, but they had to take it to court in August to get approval so that we could take it and get the contract to go to Arizona.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Does that satisfy your question?
Yes, sir, thank you.
And what about the bidding deal? I saw that there was some document that's in here for us to sign.
Yeah, he
You won't
was,
pull that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's pulled. So with number E5 pulled on the do I hear a motion?
Judge, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay. Commissioner Andrew has made a motion to approve the consent agenda with the removal of E5, which has been pulled by Glenn Tillman, seconded by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, no road ops, Mr. Donald Lenny. Okay. Mr. Clint Head.
Morning,
Development.
Judge. Morning, Commissioners. The first item I have today is we've accepted an application for replat of Pecan Plantation, Unit 9, Lot 1682R. It's in Precinct 2. Staff recommends setting the public hearing for this replat for the March 28th Commissioners Court.
28th? Okay, March 28th, 2023 for the public hearing for Pecan Plantation Unit 9. Okay, so now we're going to adjourn into a public hearing.
Got to vote on that one.
Do what?
Need to vote on setting that public hearing.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All those in favor of setting
Got a
the...
motion.
motion?
Yeah.
I'll make the motion to set the public hearing for the replat of Pecan Plantation, Unit 9, Lot 1682R for March 28th, 2023.
Second.
A motion been made by Commissioner Samuelson to set the public hearing for the replat of Pecan Plantation Unit 9 for March 28, 2023, second by Commissioner Andrews. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, at this time, which is, 6 minutes to 10, we are going to go into a public hearing to discuss and consider the replat of Pecan Baptist Church Edition, Lot 1R, Block 1, in Precinct 3. Yes, sir, Mr. Head.
This public hearing is to discuss and consider the replat of Pecan Baptist Church, Lot 1R, Block 3 in Precinct 3. This property is located at 7178 Fall Creek Highway. This replat is being done to combine the existing Lot 1 with an 8.461 acres tract out of the Milton A. Hardin Survey, abstract number 217. It will be creating a 12.762 acres lot known as Lot 1R. This lot is served by well and on-site sewage facilities. All comments have been addressed. If there's any questions, staff recommends approval after the public hearing is closed.
Okay. Any further questions? Any discussion? Okay, if not, we're going to convene back into the Commissioners' Court here at 5 minutes to 10. And do I hear a motion?
I'm approve that we can approve the replat for Pecan Baptist Church Edition, Lot 1R, Block 1.
Second.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Eagle.
Okay. So a motion been made by Commissioner Wilson to Consider the replat of Pecan Plantation, to approve the replat of Pecan Plantation Addition Lot 1R, Block 1, second by Commissioner Eagle. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion again carries 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Ed. Okay, financial, Ms. Becky Kidd.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Today, you have expenditures of $497,360.20. The auditor's office has reviewed all these invoices, and we do recommend payment. You've also received a spreadsheet with totals over $10,000. Are there any questions on expenditures for this court?
Any questions or comments? If not, do I hear a motion?
I move that we pay the bills for the invoices in the amount of $497,362.20.
360. 360, I think you said 362.
A motion been made by Commissioner Wilson to pay the bills in the amount of $497,360.20. Do I hear a second?
Dave did.
Second by Commissioner Eagle. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Ms. Kidd. Okay, now this brings us down to Section C on miscellaneous. And the first item is to discuss and take appropriate action to allow the use of the gazebo for the annual Bible reading marathon beginning Friday, May 28, 2023 through May 3rd, 2023 from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. and May 4th, 2023 from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. This is a real significant event here in Hood County. It attracts people from all over the world. In fact, a lot of people have moved here after they're hearing the Bible reading. So I'll make the motion that we allow the use of the gazebo for this annual Bible reading marathon on the dates that I just read into the record.
Second.
Okay, and motion has been seconded by Commissioner Andrews. Any further discussion or questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries 5-0. Okay. The next, we're going to convene into a public hearing, which is right now at 2 minutes to 10, to discuss, consider, and take appropriate action to request road closed to third traffic for an approximate 90 feet section of Silverton Drive between Main Street and White Horse Drive, and B, place signage creating a pedestrian crossing on Clearwater Place between Main Street and White Horse Drive for a proposed park in Main Place. This request came from the Friends of Acton Place Park Board of Directors and not the Main Place Homeowners Association. The road closure and signage was previously authorized in Commissioners Court on October the 11th, 2022. Commissioner Wilson, this is yours.
Yes, this was, as it was stated, we approved the closure of that 90-foot section and placing signs on the other road for the park area that's being put in. The two things happened on the October 11th meeting. One was we failed to go into a public hearing on that subject and to correct the identification of the group that had asked for that closure that's putting the park in. So that is where we're at now. So we need to go into a public hearing, if there is one. Any comment?
Okay. So we're in the public hearing. Is there any questions or comments about what we're trying to do? If not, we're going to convene back into Commissioners Court. It is now 10 a.m. And are there any questions or comments about this? If not, do I hear a motion?
Could I throw in something, Judge?
Sure.
Your Honor? I went back and reviewed that footage, and I guess my question, and I'm sure Commissioner Wilson can articulate what it is. Commissioner Cotton, during that hearing last time, was very emphatic and asked many questions about the homeowners association approving this. Yes, they did. And so my question is, the Friends of Acton, and he, based on that predicate, we voted it to close the road. And so the question I've got is, are we sure that Friends of Acton Place Park Board of Directors has the authority, based on an email we got from the HOA president last month, do they have the authority for there's two other neighborhoods the road closure abuts, it looks like, according to the Main Place Board of President. So have you figured that out?
Yeah, there's no issue with the ingress and egress for the other two developments that are adjacent to Main Place. This is just a 90-foot blockage, for a park that will serve all of those three developments that are in there, and they will, there's still no issues with ingress and egress for any of those, and it's for the safety of the people participating in the park areas themselves.
Is there anyone here today from the Homeowners Association or from Friends of Acton Place?
Is there anyone here from the Main Place Homeowners Association or for the Friends of Acton Place Park Board of Directors? None. Are there any other questions or comments? Okay. All those, have you made the motion yet?
No, I'm fixing.
On the public hearing. Mr. Lenny, do you have any?
Now at 10:02, we're now going to convene back into Commissioner's Court. So
I make a motion that we approve the request for road closed through traffic for the approximate 90-foot section of Silverton between Main Street and White Horse Drive, and place signage creating a pedestrian crossing on Clearwater Place between Main Street and White Horse Drive for the proposed park in Main Place, as requested by the Friends of Acton Place Park Board of Directors.
do I hear a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay. Motion been made by Commissioner Wilson to approve the request for the road closure for approximately 90 feet section of Silverton Drive as stated in the motion by Commissioner Wilson. This has been seconded by Commissioner Andrews. Any further discussion?
I have a question for Mr. Lenny. Do you have any comments or advice about this or concerns from the road standpoint?
There's always a concern when you close a section of road like this. We've never done it before, but according to our county attorney, everything is legal, and evidently everybody in the neighborhood knows about it. So,
okay.
To my knowledge, that's all I have. But
all right, thank you.
Mr. Mills, do you want to clarify if there's anything illegal about this closure of 90 feet?
Well, Judge, we went through it, I guess, October. And researched the law and talked to Don and talked to Jack and so on, and didn't see any issues. I mean, there was an original proposal that had more closure than what we're doing, and that kind of alarmed me and you and maybe Don too, because it would have taken away some of the thoroughfare access. But when it's limited to just this one, I mean, I've driven through that subdivision many times, and I think it'll be fine for, getting in and out and that kind of thing.
Thank you.
Okay. Stay here, Mr. Mills. You're going to be called up next. So.
Oh.
Okay, if there's no other. You've made the motion, it's been seconded. So all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries 5-0. Now, item number 3, consider and take appropriate action, if needed, regarding the Hood County YMCA Commissioners Court may enter executive session to consult with county attorney on legal matters that are not related to litigation. Now, we had a memo from our county attorney, Matt Mills, clarifying this. Mr. Mills, would you come up here and please explain what you propose in this and what really happened?
Well, it's not so much what I proposed. I mean, two of y'all were there at the meeting, and I think, yeah, a couple of the folks from the Y are here if you want to ask any questions. But I think it kind of started maybe with a misunderstanding about what they wanted from us and any demands that they made, which they put that to rest, and I think they're going to take care of the erosion issues and some of the other things that have been addressed. So I don't really see that we need an executive session or contemplated litigation or any of those kinds of things. I think we're good, and they can speak to the repairs that they plan to make.
Yes. Okay, do we have a representative from the Y here that wishes to? Yeah.
I'm Todd Baker. I'm the Chief Property Officer for the YMCA's, and I built the Hood County Y for the county when we did it, so I've kind of been involved with it from way back when. So,
okay.
I think part of the misunderstanding came in the sense that the damage that was there, what we wanted to make sure we were trying to get the county's input on a right solution. More importantly, the intent was that we were still going to have it done. The bids that we were getting were from like a landscape contractor who just plants grass and cuts the grass and things of that nature. So we were really seeking more to make sure that we did get it fixed the right way. And since we've talked, we had a meeting last week with some county folk, and we've got direction on what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. But that's where that came from. So I don't think that the intent was ever that the county would be required to pay for the repairs. So we're getting it taken care of. There's some other things that were identified. There was a rock or something in the pipe, so we're going to have a plumber dig that up and repair that pipe. And then obviously bring in good dirt and fill it and make sure it's done properly and replant the sod on that. And then I think that was the extent of that one.
So the erosion problem is going to be handled by the YMCA?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
We were just more seeking, making sure we did it the way that, since it is the county's building,
well, I
we just,
appreciate that. That's good.
yeah, we just want to make sure we did it right.
Well, good. I'm glad we're working together then. That's
Always.
good. Yeah.
So.
Okay. Good deal. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Clears that
Appreciate the
up,
patience.
so, all right. That kind of goes, well, let's go ahead and go past here. I don't guess there's any action that needs to be taken on this then, does it?
I don't see any, Judge.
No, sir. Okay, so no action be taken on number 4 in view of what has been stated here in open Commissioners Court. Do what?
A speaker.
On 4?
On 3.
I'm sorry, on 3. Marietta Harrell.
My questions were all answered. Thank you.
Okay, good, thank you. All right. Okay. Now, item number 4. Discuss and take appropriate action to join the Texas Attorney General's office in new opioid settlement agreements. We have the document from the state that's been approved by you, Mr. Mills, hadn't it? It's just basically what we've done in the previous 3 years, hasn't it?
Right. There's just a couple of new named defendants that are in this settlement agreement, and so we just need to work through the AG on those settlements with those defendants as well. That's really about it.
Yeah. You recommending that the Commissioners Court sign this?
Right. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Good deal. Okay. Anybody have any other questions regarding the Texas Attorney's new opioid settlement agreements? If not, do I hear a motion?
I move that we approve the action to join the Texas Attorney General's office on the new opioid settlement agreement.
Second.
That motion been made by Commissioner Wilson to join the Texas Attorney General's office in the new opioid settlement agreement, second by Commissioner Eagle. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, next is item number 5, discuss and take appropriate action to create a Hood County YMCA Oversight Committee to include 2 members from Hood County Commissioners Court, 2 members from the YMCA selected by the management of the YMCA of Metropolitan Fort Worth, Hood County Maintenance Director, and Hood County Personnel Director. The committee shall meet on a quarterly basis with meeting times and dates set by the committee. So we got the big problem immediately resolved here, but does anybody wish to talk about having this committee set up in the event and having quarterly meetings in case anything does come up?
Well, since I put this on the agenda, I'll speak to it. During the meeting that we had last week, it seemed like we had a really good consensus that there needed to be some ongoing communication just to make sure that things were going smoothly and touch base once a quarter. So I was going to suggest that if we do approve this, that the first meeting allow them time to fix the erosion problems, and then the first meeting could happen in perhaps May. So it's really just to continue the good camaraderie that we had the other day in the meeting and the working together and just making sure that that we're, protecting our asset and that we're being good good neighbors and working with the Y.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and then form the committee and decide on the 2 commissioners from Hood County. What? I'm sorry? What is this? I do not have a speaker on 5. I got 3 on 6.
Yeah, 2 on 1 sheet.
Do you want? She's fine. Okay, thank you. Okay. So do we want to go ahead and have a motion on this to create the committee then?
I'll make the motion to create the YMCA Oversight Committee, including 2 members from Hood County Commissioners Court, which I would recommend that Commissioner Wilson and myself be the 2 commissioners that represent the county on that committee, and then 2 members from the YMCA to be selected by the YMCA management, and then the Hood County Maintenance Director and the Hood County Personnel Director. And the committee shall meet on a quarterly basis, first meeting targeted for the 1st of May, and meeting times and dates to be set by the committee.
Second.
Okay. So motion been made by Commissioner Samuelson to create the Hood County YMCA Oversight Committee to include 2 members from the Hood County Commissioners Court, which are Commissioner Samuelson and Commissioner Wilson, and then 2 members to be selected by from the Y, selected by the YMCA of Metropolitan Fort Worth, and to also include on the committee the Hood County Maintenance Director, who presently is Jay Riley, and the Hood County Personnel Director, which is Melissa Welburn. So, and that this committee shall meet on a quarterly basis, with the first meeting to be decided by the committee sometime in the 1st of May of this year. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Second by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. Okay. The next, item 6, discuss regarding the presentation of the LEC Jail Architectural Program by AGCM and DRG Architects. No action to be taken. We got the members here, do we not,
Yes, we
Mr.
do.
Tillman?
Yes. Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. On October 11th, the court commissioned AGCM to provide a programming report and an estimate for a 400-bed jail facility and law enforcement center. At the last court, we received the presentation, and today they've returned to answer any questions about the programming report and the estimate. Brian?
Okay. Good morning, Ryan.
Good morning, Judge. Good morning, Commissioners. Pleasure to be back here this morning in front of you. I know you had a pretty heavy homework assignment, I think, last time we were here. We handed out a programming booklet, which just to bring everybody up to speed, kind of as a reminder of how we got to where we are. So AGCM, again, I'm Ryan Roseborough with AGCM. I'm the Vice President for the North Texas region. We were brought on board to assist the county as an owner's representative. So just to be clear what that means, we are not an architect and we are not a contractor. So we are not giving you bids to build this building. We're not proposing to build this building, none of that. We were commissioned strictly to provide you with facts and options of your current facilities and potential future facilities. So last summer, we were engaged to put together a facility condition assessment, completely third party, on the existing jail facility. So we brought in our team of professionals within AGCM. We brought in a team of 5 people to examine all the systems in the existing jail, from the plumbing to the HVAC, to the architectural features, to the lighting, you name it, the site drainage, the whole enchilada. From that report, we generated a facility assessment condition report with associated costs to bring that facility kind of up to par. In addition to the facility's condition, we also looked at some of the functionality pieces, which we're not, we don't work in the facility, so we don't really know some of the functionality issues, but the staff does. For example, the ceilings are very low in that facility, which from a functionality standpoint causes major security concern with the inmates being able to actually access the ceiling. So things like that were also put into the condition assessment report to be able to cost and quantify what it would cost to bring the jail up to kind of current standards, what we would expect to see. So when we released that report, the commissioners then engaged us to move forward at, okay, we have an idea of what the existing facility condition is and what it may cost to bring it up to par. What would it cost to build a new facility? So that you could kind of weigh your options and see what would be the most economical route. So with that, in October, we were given a task order to bring you a programming report. A program, to define that for you, a program, it's not an architectural design. It's basically the dumb way I describe it in my Programming for Idiots brain is if you were baking a cake, you have to have a recipe list first. Is that right? Is this okay, Wayne? Yeah, okay. So Wayne's our programming expert. He can stop me. But I think of it like baking a cake. You have to have a recipe first, right? So if baking the cake is the design portion, putting the recipe together is the programming portion. So first we have to put that recipe together, get the programming done to determine what the needs would be for a new facility. So for that, we brought in DRG Architects, Wayne Gondek and his team. DRG has got extensive jail experience. I wrote down his title formerly because I can't remember all the words here, but Wayne has over 28 years of experience. He served as chief planner and deputy director for the Texas Commission on Jail Facilities. So who knows more about jails than Wayne? Nobody that I know. So we thought he would be a great partner to help us with the programming effort. In addition, I have Jaime Escobar here today with us. Jaime is a senior estimator for AGCM. So Wayne, with staff and using jail standards, put together a program for what a new facility would look like. He put the recipe together. And then our estimators took that recipe and put numbers to it to determine what that would cost. So that's been about a 3.5, 4 month long process. We started this in October. And of course, in the last meeting, we gave you a copy of the report with the idea that you could go back, look through the report, generate questions, and then in today's meeting, we could hopefully address those questions for you. From a purely objective standpoint. Again, our job is not to try to sell you on one way or the other. We're just wanting to bring you the facts and let you all make the decision on what's best. So with that, I'd love to open the floor to any questions you have on the report. And for Wayne or for our estimator, Jaime, Mike Bays also is with us here from AGCM, so I'd love to open the floor.
A couple of things I'll bring out to everybody's attention at the beginning of this. The jail the current facility was physically built in 1995. It was supposed to be part of a 3-phase program. It was built with 192 beds with a 20-bed facility for females. At that time in 1995, the county population was 34,071. That's, county record. The population for the jail got to the point in 2000 that we had to start shipping prisoners out of county, and we have basically been shipping prisoners out of county every day since. The furthest that the numbers exist for the checks that we wrote to other counties for housing our inmates can only go back to 2009. The numbers, so I took 2017, 18, 19, 20, and 21. The total number of checks that we wrote for those 5 years was $1,749,080. Divided by 5, you get an annual fiscal year average of $349,816. But yet in fiscal year 22, we just completed, we wrote out checks to other counties for $526,395. That's Hood County tax dollars going to other counties to house our inmates. Those numbers do not address transport officers, salaries, benefits, vehicles, fuel, and all other expenses associated with transferring those inmates back and forth. Just as an example for Hood County, this was kind of an eye-opener to me. In 1970, when we first bought property here in this county, the county population was 6,610 people, total county population. At the end of 2021, total county population is now was 64,222. If you add 2022 on that, you're now over 66,000. The numbers speak for themselves. There were two high impacts, peaks of numbers, both in the late 90s and then in the early to mid 2000. The numbers are not going to go down any further. Initially, after the jail was built in 1995, there was a review in 2005 to do phase 2 of the jail to add an additional 177 bed capacity, and basically that program went nowhere. And I have that document, and it is that thick. There was a second issue, 2009, 2010 timeframe, again, went nowhere. At one point in time, during the Alan Hardin administration, as an example, when he was sheriff, we actually had prisoners in post. Anybody know where post is? It's a long way away. We've had them in counties, in McClendon County, which is Waco. We've had them in Johnson County. We've had them in Parker County. We now have them. We've had them in Brown County, which they've, under contract and no longer housing any of our inmates because they're having to ship some of their people out to other counties. Right now, we're currently using Erath in Somerville County to house our inmates. And yesterday's numbers was 24 out of county. That's how many and that was with 186, if I'm not mistaken, in our current facility here, and 24 out of county. My memory serves me correct. I know, Eric, if you will, can you come and talk to what, the efforts you did last Thursday and Friday regarding researching possible contractors, counties? that number.
Judge, Commissioners, thank you. So last week, I put together, the sheriff had asked me and sent out an email in regards to contracts for other counties. And so I took it upon myself to go ahead and search for some other counties, mainly those that are close by, all the way up to, 4.5 hours out, 6 hours out, just to see exactly, do they have contracts? Are they housing inmates from other counties? Are they taking inmates to other counties themselves? How much does it cost per inmate, et cetera? So the sheriff just handed you a kind of a better layout of the emails that I sent to each one of you. And it kind of goes off into each county, starting with Tarrant County. We've been trying with Tarrant County for quite a while to get contracts with them. But Tarrant County, as big as it is having the same issues as majority of the counties in the state, overpopulation. To the point where Tarrant County has a facility in Post in Garza County that they're housing quite a bit of inmates there, as well as Harris County. It used to be a federal facility, and it's been turned into more of a county-based facility to house county inmates, but it's specifically, as of right now, for Tarrant County and Harris County only. It's roughly a 1,600 to a 1,900 bed facility. They only house 912. It's because they don't have enough staff to open up any more beds at the moment. You're going to see very periodically, it's either going to be too many inmates, bigger population, or not enough staff to cover, and they can't take on anymore. So Tarrant County is having to pay $98 per inmate a day at that facility, and they can't take any contracts because they don't have enough room, or they don't have enough staff.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify that. And
Yes,
was
ma'am.
that with Tarrant County
Tarrant
has
County.
space but not staff?
I think it's both. They don't have the space because they're having to house out so many to that post facility, on top of not having enough staff. We send our new jailers to Tarrant County for a jail school every time we have a new jailer. We're able to send them up there, and their classes happen almost every month at Tarrant County, and it's 30 plus cadets to be jailers for Tarrant County, every class. So they have a very large turnover over there, but they're also quite big. They're a whole lot bigger than us, and they need a whole lot more staff for the inmate population that's going on over there.
So they have some empty space, they just don't have people to staff it?
Yes.
In Tarrant County? Okay.
Montague County Jail, they're not able to do contracts due to their population. They have too many inmates. If they were to do it, it's about $60 an inmate per day. That post facility in Garza, I kind of described it as well. Harris County's housing there, as well as Tarrant County. I talked to them yesterday, trying to get an idea more of what the facility is and what they're doing. If they have more staff in the future, they may open up to other counties. That may be an option in the future for other counties to go there at that $98 per day per inmate. Garza County Jail, separate from that post facility, Garza County Jail, they're having to contract 15 other agencies. They don't have the space in their jail. Of course, their jail is under 100 beds, and so they have contracts with other agencies to house their inmates, and when they can, they would like to do contracts with others. They have some for themselves at $55 a day, and some agencies will do transport contracts. So we talk about having to transport back and forth. Well, some agencies they'll bring your inmates to you when they have availability at a cost, that $30 an hour, to bring those inmates back to you or to wherever they need to go. Upton County Jail, they can't take any contracts due to their population. Cost per day is $55 per inmate if they were able to do any type of contract with other agencies. Hale County Jail, currently no spaces for contracts due to the facility issues. Cost per day, if they were able to, would be about $45 per inmate per day.
Due to facility issues.
The condition of their building. So they most likely have whole tank or seg cells that have to be shut down for maintenance purposes to fix those cells to be able to put inmates back into. So until those are fixed, they can't put inmates in there. Not only their own, but anybody else that wants to contract with them can't take them because they don't have the cells to do so. That's something that, and as I continue to read these, all of you are gonna hear, and you're gonna hear all of it's the same. It's not just us. We have facility issues that are band-aided every day to fix for now. Our current contracts at Erath County, Somerville County, Brown County, there's times where I would contact them and say, hey, any bed space at all? Erath County is the biggest one because they had an expansion on their jail, and majority of their older side of the jail has constant maintenance issues where they have to shut down entire wings because they have maintenance problems. And I won't have any bed space to take inmates over there because of that. So it's the same across the state. It's no different from us and anybody else with contracts, with facility issues, et cetera. Lubbock County Jail is probably the most needing county when it comes to housing inmates. I have a list that I have provided of counties that they're contracted with to take inmates to. Mitchell County, Garza, Hale, Falls County, Upton, and Winkler County. And they're still actively looking for other agencies. They're contacting agencies 6 hours away, and they're willing to take inmates that far because they don't have the population. And they sure enough can't take any more contracts for more inmates to come to their jail. Bosque County Jail, they only house about 64 inmates. There's no room for more. 20 of those inmates are Bosque County inmates. The rest are contracted at $85 per inmate a day. So only 24 of those are Bosque County. The rest, up to 64, are other agencies that they've contracted with to fill their jail.
You skipped Johnson County.
I'm sorry. I will go back to it. The jail administrator of Bosque County say that they run about 50% local, 50% out of county. And they use that out-of-county money to assist the sheriff's office as well. Certificate pay for staff, and even raises for jailers. And just like them, most agencies over 6 hours away from their facility are housing in their jail. Johnson County Jail, they currently do not have contracts with any agencies. They have the space. Johnson County used to be LaSalle Corrections at their jail. It's a private entity. The county was not over the jail until just recently. I talked to their jail administrator, and they're looking at possibly doing contracts in the future, but they're going to stay between $90 and $120 per inmate a day. That's the kind of the similar price that the federal inmates are at right now for being housed in county jails, between $90 and $120. So if we were to house anybody over there, it'd be the same price.
And how many beds is their jail?
I currently do not know at the top of my head. It's significantly larger than ours. Sheriff, do you know the?
1,050.
There you go. There's your answer. McLennan County Jail, we used to have McLennan County Jail as a contract. Again, that was under a private entity before McLennan County took it over. That's also been recently. They have no room for more contracts, but they'll charge $84.12 an inmate per day if we're to do any type of contracts in the future. Burnett County Jail. They house 570 inmates. That's their capacity. They are full with no room for more. Very similar to Bosque County, 170 of those inmates in Burnett are Burnett County inmates. The rest are contracted to other agencies to fill those beds. At $75 an hour, $75 per inmate per day. And those inmates that have to be separated for any reason, have to be in a single cell, that could be up to $80+ an hour, or $80 per inmate per day for those individuals that have to be separated. Comanche County Jail.
contacted Comanche County Jail in the past. They're between us and Brown County. It's a little bit closer, a little bit more convenient. Same as before. There's no space for them to do. They're contracted with Brown County. Brown County is having to send people over there because of their population numbers. Comanche County, when they're able to, will charge $75 per inmate a day. And the main reason Comanche County cannot is due to the staffing issues. They don't have enough staff to cover the amount of beds that they have. Back on Erath County, same issue with Erath County. It's a 144-bed facility. They keep their numbers under 100 due to not having enough staff. Bell County Jail. I contacted their administrator. His name is Shane Soule. He used to be a jail inspector for Texas Commission on Jail Standards. I know him very well. I know he'd be a good source to talk to in regards to either new jails or what's going on in his county, because I've heard a lot about Bell County and having to house inmates out. They actually have a recently new facility that was built, I believe before Shane was appointed in his position. But Bell County has a contract with 10 other agencies to house their inmates. If they did contract in the future, the rate would be around $75 a day per inmate. Speaking of the jail administrator, they pay anywhere from $55 to $75 a day per inmate for those other agencies. It varies, obviously, per county. They have currently 300 inmates housed out of county. And they just built a new jail not too long ago. They just got approved for an expansion. Obviously, that takes time, but they're in the works of doing that. But currently, 300 inmates are housed out. He said they spend roughly around $10 million a year to house out their inmates to other counties. Ellis County Jail does not have enough staff to do any contracts for housing out of county inmates. If they were able to do contracts, the rate would be $91 a day per inmate.
Do we read into that they have beds, they just don't have staff?
Yes.
Okay. How many, what
How many beds
capacity?
total? No, ma'am, I don't.
Or what percent full?
I do not know.
Okay.
Falls County Jail currently are not accepting more contracts for housing inmates due to, again, staffing. If they were to contract in the future, it'd be anywhere between $55 and $85 a day per inmate. And it looks like I repeated Bell County, but I didn't mean to repeat Bell County. Disregard that last one.
Could you, on Erath County, you said
Yes.
they keep their total at what?
Under 100,
And they have beds for?
144.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I also listed the Texas Commission on Jail Standards website and a link that goes straight to non-compliant jails in the state of Texas. Coryell County, DeWitt County, Grimes, Harris, Jim Hogg, Llano, Runnels, Stonewall, Wood County are the current non-compliant jails in the state. There are other county jails that we know of that have struggled in the past. I would never look for a county jail that's in non-compliance with the state to contract with or reach out to. They have enough of their own issues that they're having to address with the state. So I wanted to provide that information. All that is public record, by the way, on the commission's website. I highly encourage the public, the citizens, the commissioners, judge, go to that website periodically and look at that information, not just the non-compliance, but you can look up population of other counties. On there, you're talking about bed space. There's a whole list of every county jail in the state of Texas that has their capacity, how much they currently have in their jail, what types of charges, et cetera. It's all on those websites that y'all have access to. So it's a lot of good information and get an idea of how big certain jails are, how small certain jails are, et cetera. So
They also had listed construction projects, but I couldn't find a status that was any newer than last March. Do you know where that report is?
I do not know where the report is. Now, I know they're pretty open on, you can contact the building project department of Texas Jail Standards, and they provide a whole lot of information for you.
Last week and this week, and no return calls.
I think I know some people I can help
Thank
you out
you.
with that.
I was hoping you would have a connection, because I haven't gotten a response. I've left 3 messages
Oh,
with 3
interesting.
different people.
Okay, all right. Well, whatever information that you do need, just let me know what it is, and then I'll try to find that answer for you. No problem. So, and then lastly, I just wanted to list on here the current Hood County contracts. Now, I know we talked about Brown County earlier. I'll get to that in a second. Somerville County Jail, they hold both male and female inmates as of yesterday. We had 7 males and 6 females out housed there. They were able to take 2 more females, so I took 2 females there yesterday. Unfortunately, one of those females is a maximum security female. That's what she classifies as due to her past or her current charges. And Somerville County can no longer house maximum security inmates. They don't have the size or the space to house those maximum security inmates. They have too many of them themselves. They can't take any more. So now I cannot send any max inmates over to Somerville County. So we had to bring 1 back, but replacing her today with somebody that's a medium or a minimum to go over there. Erath County Jail currently holds male and female inmates for us. As of yesterday, 5 males, 6 females. They were able to take 3 more females yesterday, so I took 3 females over there. The cost for Somerville County per day is $55 a day per inmate. Erath County is $45 a day per inmate. Somerville County just recently went up on their price. They were at $45 as well, and they went up on their price. I can imagine Erath County is not too far behind. I'm sure they're going to raise their cost as well. Brown County Jail, currently not having any inmates housed over there due to population. They're having a contract to other agencies, like I said before. But as of yesterday, I was contacted by one of the administrators in Brown County, and they were able to take 10 females, which is fantastic for us. Hopefully by the end of the week, I'll be able to get those females all the way over there, those 10, if they qualify to go, which is a whole nother story that we can get into. We haven't housed anybody in Brown County since October, so Erath County, Somerville County have been our saving grace to send females over there. My population for females since then hasn't been too terrible. We've been able to manage maybe 1 or 2 being sent out, but as of lately, the last couple of weeks, our female population has skyrocketed. So having that amount in Brown County is going to help out us a lot, and currently the cost for Brown County is $50 a day per inmate. As of yesterday, we were housing 24 inmates out of county. By the end of this week, I'm hoping there'll be about 39 housed out once I move those 10, plus the 5 that I moved yesterday. There may be more than 39, depending. Every day's different. You never know what's going to happen. Which is right now the most that have had housed out since September 20th of last year. So it was 42, I believe, September 20th of last year, and it's gone down since then. And I say that because, that's a decent period of time of not having, more than 40 inmates housed out of county, but it fluctuates. You can't say, your population is going to be down forever. It's not going to be down forever. It shows that. We have documentation that shows that. You have reports, monthly reports, et cetera, that show that. In 2021, I had a spike of over 65 inmates were housed out of county. That's a ton. I have a 192-bed jail. We had a lot of people in jail during that time, and I had a lot housed out of county. It's a lot of money.
So the 39 you expect because you're reducing the female population here, or why do you think it's going to spike up to 39 out of county?
That's just because I'm moving as many as I know I'm going to be attempting to move by the end of the week. Understand that my transport department are the ones that transport all these individuals. I only have 6 transport officers. These transport officers also take care of the warrant pickups that we have to do this week. They also take care of the quite large district dockets that we have to take inmates from jail to go to court. Obviously, one transport officer isn't going to take 20 inmates to court, so I only have 6 transport officers. Multiple transport officers has to take care of that. I have 1 female transport officer to assist with the female inmates. Can't always do that. It is what it is. So my male transport officers pick up that, and they do what they can to help with the female transports, et cetera. Obviously, there's policies in place to take care of that liability in regards to the female and opposite sex stuff. But with those 6, we try to get, and with Brown County being 2 hours away, it's that's almost a whole day trip for them to take care of on top of their other duties. So when I say I attempt to take them by Friday, I attempt to take them by Friday.
Okay.
So
Just thought maybe you knew that there was going to be a rash of people coming into the jail.
depends on how antsy the city and the county is at taking people to jail, and hopefully some of the citizens can be nice.
The other point is that we have weekend inmates every weekend. In other words, there's people that have been, that have jail time to serve, and they only come in on Friday and they leave on Sunday, correct?
Or Monday morning, but yes.
Okay, Monday morning. So each weekend the number goes up a little bit of what's physically housed locally because of that. Also, in talking with the sheriff in the past, last year, if my memory serves me correctly, you issued more personal reconnaissance bonds than you've done in quite some time because of the housing issue. And that's a continual issue also.
Yeah, I do what I can. The judges have done what they could to get people moved out. The females are the biggest problems because we only had 20 actual beds for them, and then we converted the one other tank into females, so we can hold 28. We've been as high as 60. On people in my jail, I've been, asked different questions at different times about who we have and why we keep them and all that. But what we have for the most part is people working on becoming convicted felons, or they're already convicted felons and they're waiting on their state hearings through the blue warrants and things of that nature. So the misdemeanors are the ones that are the weekenders that come in, and so the county court of law has always worked good with us and sentence them to weekend time, so they come in and they go. So we got to keep the population down to a level that we can manage as people get arrested and they come in on the weekends too. So that's part of why we get as many out as we can, but we stay full anyway.
Okay, just for the record also, and for everybody's information, your cost per day, that for the people that the inmates you house here is what per day?
$61 and some odd cents. But
just, everybody know that.
$61.33 a day.
Yep.
That's the number I made, but I want, that's what I had, but I want, everybody needs to understand, for the ones that are housed here, it's $61.33 per day per individual cost.
And the formula to figure that out is the beds divided by 365 divided by the county budget. So, and our budget, I guess, is maybe a touch bigger because we have so many transport people because we have to move them all around the place. So that's how they come up with that particular number.
So it's the cost of running the jail divided by the number of beds.
Divided by 365
okay.
for the days in the year, so yeah.
Okay.
Yes, and that only includes for them to sleep and for them to eat. And that's the only services that cost right there, that $61.33 is for them to have a bed and for them to eat. Everything else is another expense.
Like medical or medicines.
Correct. And the reason for this, that I wanted to reach out to all these counties, and I had a feeling it was going to be what I thought it was going to be, and it's the same boat we're in. Staffing, though I'm 4 openings at the moment, but for these other agencies, they're a lot worse off than that. ERAF can't even hold more than 100 individuals because they don't have applicants at the moment. They'll probably get more applicants after their most recent budget update for their pay, but currently that's what they're struggling with. In population numbers across the state, I go to conferences every year, and that's where I get to meet individuals. That's how the relationships develop with jail standards, to get kind of hear what's going on with other agencies, and we're all in the same boat. Every county in the state of Texas is all in the same boat. Their facility's not big enough, populations are growing, or the facility itself isn't in a good enough shape to take on more inmates, and they're struggling to get another facility built for them. So they're in the same boat as we are. So looking at contracting out and continuing it, it's very seldom that we're going to be able to find those agencies that would be able to. We might get contracts. We might get 10 more contracts with other agencies, but I might not be able to send any inmates to them. We'll have contracts with them, but they may call me once every 2 weeks and say, hey, I got a bed. You want to send a person? When I've got 3 holding cells full of females that I have no bed space for. It's going to just continue with that issue. So.
Didn't mean to get long-winded, but did we answer your question?
Or if there's other questions, please.
Yeah, I don't know how you want to do this, but you just want me to start asking questions of the, okay. Okay, so I have a lot of questions. So for AGCM, looking through your response to the RFQ that you mentioned back in 2021, I see that you've noted many fire stations and ESDs in your relevant experience, but I didn't see any jails. So where and how many jail projects have you provided construction support for, which counties, and when?
Yes, ma'am. So off the top of my head, a few I can rattle off. Nueces County Jail, Williamson County Jail.
When?
Nueces County, probably a couple years ago. I could send you a comprehensive list with dates, but a couple years in Nueces County Jail.
I think that would be good if you could provide the court with your jail, because everything that was in here was all about ESD and fire. There was no mention of your jail experience at all.
Okay. Williamson County Jail, Kendall County Jail, we're working on that one actually right now, Kendall County, currently. Brazoria County, we're working on that one currently. Fort Bend, we're working on that one currently. City of Kyle, Public Safety, we're working on that one currently. Finishing up probably next month. And City of Josephine, Public Safety, we're working on that one currently. We're just now getting into design on that one.
If you could provide the jail, I mean the county that you're working on, the status that it's in, and what architecture firm that you're partnering with.
Okay, most of those we're not partnering. We work only for the entity. So we're separate of the design team.
Okay.
So if that makes sense, we're only on the owner's side. In this instance, we brought DRG in because the programming piece is so specialized on a jail. Like we do lots of programming internally at AGCM, but a jail is so specific because those jail standards and everything you have to meet. We really didn't want to get out over our skis on that.
So how are you doing that with these jails?
With the other ones?
Yeah.
Well, with the other ones, they're already past that. So like Kendall County, for example, they didn't bring us in for programming. They didn't bring us in until the contractor was already on board and the architect, the design was done. They brought us in to manage it after that. So they're all different phases and different parts and pieces.
Okay, so now, do you have your document up there?
I've got a paper copy, yes, ma'am.
So going to this document, on page 2, the 7,200 square feet and the 2,700 square feet for the jail, that adds up to 99,000 square feet. How does this compare to our current square footage?
I need to pull up the facility assessment that we did previously because that has that information on the existing facility in it. So there's 2 different documents. There's one that's focused on the existing facility and there's one on the new facility. Do you remember offhand, Wayne, what the existing jail is?
Double what your existing facility is right now. The existing, and just to introduce myself again, Wayne Gondik with DRG Architects out of San Antonio. Commissioner, the existing facility, being a 200 capacity, 192, or right at 200 capacity facility, is about half of the square footage that we're looking at on the 400 capacity facility right
So you
now.
think it's about 50,000 square feet?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It's 50 or 54.
54 sounds right, yeah, but I can pull it up and check.
You think it's 54? Okay. On page 11, sorry, don't need to hit the microphone. On page 11, where you have the breakdown of the cells, male, female, and special housing, I must be missing something because I can add up to 428, not 432.
You're really not missing something.
Okay.
There is a typo on that. and
Okay.
We have a updated handout on that. The actual number that is wrong on there, the total amount is right. When we went back and worked through these numbers, there was a typo. To get to the 432, we have to have 44 separation cells because we have to have 10% separation cells to meet the jail standards.
Okay.
And that 40 should have been 44, so that is a typo. The 432 is correct, but the 44 is incorrect, so that the subtotal on the special housing would have been 56, and that would have brought us up to the 432.
Okay, thank you. Then on page 16, can we get a comparison to existing? I'm not sure if that's what the number of spaces column was supposed to be for. It's rather confusing what the number of spaces in future is. It's sporadically filled in. So if we could get a comparison to the existing, the number of spaces and the square footage, and then if it's a new space, just say, new, that we don't have that right now. So there are some things that we don't currently have that are proposed in the new jail.
Okay, we can do that. I would tell you that what that is right now is that this is a needs-based spreadsheet, and it's for the needs of those spaces of what would be needed right now. But as we're looking over the life of that initial life of the building, and we really look at that initial life of the building is really that 20-year period, because we don't want to do anything less than what your typical financing would be. So a 20-year, 30-year, somewhere in that range. So when we're looking at number of spaces that we have there, right now we would need to have 4, but we want to actually put in 6 booking areas. So that was what we were looking at there. And if you go down to the next one, and I can clarify that, and we can fill in both those areas there.
It's confusing why some.
But as to why we put it in there, as to whether it's an immediate need or whether that's based on what that future need is there.
So you're saying that the number of spaces means how many you need, and the projection, the future is the projection of how many you think we should have.
Right. Because some of those won't be used right away, but like in your holding and intake and processing areas, that's in the core of the facility. That's not someplace that you can go and expand as you add on to the facility. Like your housing area is a space that you can add on down the road, and that's how you're supposed to be able to add on to your jail facility in the future, is to expand the inmate housing. But your core facilities, as that intake and processing, should at least be designed or this program for that you might say double the size of your facility, so that you can grow through that to actually expand through twice that or at least through 2 expansion programs. So that's one reason why we have that filled out in the future there, that those are the numbers that we want to be able to look at as we grow through that expansion program.
Sorry, if there's nothing listed in number of spaces, we're to assume that the need and the future are the same?
Yes,
For example, the
yes, ma'am.
restroom under.
That's right. That is what I should be saying there, that the need now and the future need is equal. that we need. We're going to meet that same need both now and in the future.
Okay, and then if there's nothing there, it's just a 1, because that's the math.
Correct.
Okay. So for example, restroom under support services has a 5 under number of spaces, but nothing under future, but the math is using 5.
Correct. We're not going to expand that over time there.
Okay, I think I got it. Oh, and then could you also add a subtotal for like each of the major intake area, the subtotal of the square footage? So that we could tell the square footage of each intake area, administration, support, all the major categories that you have there, a subtotal of square
Yes, ma'am.
footage? Okay. Okay, and then as I mentioned, if you could just mark somehow that this is a new space that we don't currently have?
Yes,
So we
ma'am.
would, okay.
We can fill out all those spaces in the chart and
Okay, then
make
I'm,
sure that there's not a question in that.
okay, and then going down, back to the programming estimate. On page 7, let's see, 7 of 18. Let me find that. Is what you're saying is that, when I look at this, on the programming estimate, page 7 of 18, is what you're saying is that of the $73 million total, oh wait, it looks like you're, wait for you to get there. Okay. Of the $73 million total, construction cost that's listed on the bottom of page 6 and the top of page 5, that 38.3% of that 73 million is markups listed on page 7.
Let's see.
The math works, I just want to make sure that I did it right, that I understand it.
Right, yes. I'm sorry, Jaime with AGCM, he's our chief estimator, senior
Hi.
estimator, so I'll let Jaime.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, the construction cost, it shows a total construction cost of $45 million plus. Construction cost is the actual cost of construction. It's been broken in 3 pieces: demolition and site work, demolition of the existing facilities, new facility, and new law enforcement. This construction cost is very similar, very close to other projects that we've been looking around. For example, excavation. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a jail or a school, excavation is excavation, it's got a cost. But there's some equipment that makes a jail special security.
Right,
Now,
I'm just asking about the 38.3%.
Yes.
The 38.3% that you've got listed on page 7
yes,
is,
correct. Those are
that's
markups.
38.3% of the 73 million.
Correct. When we are at the level of design that we are, which is a program, we have a high contingency percentage. Typically, it's 25%. We have it at 20%. Then escalation, those are the 2 major items here. Escalation, we're assuming that's going to be taking 18 months from the moment of the estimate was made till the beginning of construction. If it goes low, more than that, we have additional escalation. So those 2, we can say, are manageable in a way that the early make the decision, the lower the cost of escalation, but also as we get closer to the design development phases, the contingency reduces, which is it's up to 0 once we have construction documents. So those numbers are industry standards that we estimators use at this level. General conditions and general contractors' overhead and profit, that's going to be, depending on who wins the bid, the delivery process, if it's a CMAR, CM, construction management at risk, or if it's a closed seal proposal, where, general contractors can add to 2% on bonds or 5% on bonds, depending on their insurance, 5% or 4%, depending on how competitive the bid is. They know that if you have 2 bidders or you have 10 bidders, the fees are going to be between 2.5% and 4.5% up to 5%. So those numbers are there as a guide. They are not solid. Construction are our numbers that we see. The other ones are our best estimate of what we're seeing right now.
Okay.
And then it's a third portion that you haven't asked, I'm sorry, but I will tell you, it's the soft cost, which is the owner carry cost to build the project.
Okay.
What was that last?
The soft cost.
Which includes a
Design, furniture, the turnkey, the things that are, things that are outside construction.
Correct.
But you still have to have them to have a functional building. So when we put these numbers together, we wanted it to be all in. We didn't want to give you just a part of it or a piece of it, because that leaves you with a building that's not functional. So really, we wanted to put all the soft costs in there and everything. Typically, that's not done, but we wanted to give the whole picture. And just to tack on to one of the things Jaime said, for all of these, this is a breathing document. So I want to point that out. This is not something that you can just shelf and then bring it back out in 5 years and it's still valid. It's something that needs to be updated, frequently as you go through the process, because things are going to change. For example, when we put this out several months ago, as we were putting these numbers together, the crystal ball in escalation was much higher than maybe what it is today. We're starting to see things not go down, but we're seeing them level.
Stabilize.
Right, we're seeing them stabilize. So as the market changes, we want to be able to go in and update this document to make sure it stays current.
Okay. One more question on the document. On page 8, that first line, it says demolition of existing facility, but it's got the 99,385 square feet. So, and then right under it's got the 54.5. So what is that top line?
54,000 is the actual building.
Okay. What's that top line that?
We use that as a guidance to, at the end, we have a cost per square foot.
Okay, but that 953,750 over on the right-hand side is being added into the total?
No, because these A, B, and C add up to 953,750.
Yes.
So A, B, and C are based off the 54,500. So the 99,000 is the new facility square footage, but we're just figuring it as how do I put this? The demolition piece is only 54,000 square feet of existing, but as a cost of the whole project, the new project, you would say, if I were to say, what's the demolition cost going to be for the new project? You would say $9.60 per square foot, because that's the scope of the new project.
The impact on the new project.
Impact on the new project, yeah, if that makes sense. But the cost calculated is only based on a 54,000 square foot footprint.
Which is $17.50 per square foot, just for the existing.
Okay, I'll go back and add that up. Okay, so do you want me to keep asking questions, or you want someone else to ask questions now? Okay, here we go. So looking at the current jail population as a percent of the total population, and the numbers that Jack mentioned, or Commissioner Wilson mentioned on the population, those are the same numbers I had. So we both went to the same source to find the population of the county, so that's good. So looking at the current jail population as a percent of the total population, we average about 0.3%, using 210 and 65,000. We are 85% male and 15% female. So looking at actual census numbers, Hood County has grown at about 10 to 12% increase every 5 years. Using the population projections provided in the 2000, the county commissioned a study in 2000, wastewater study, which actually had us at 67,000 in 2020, so it was a little over where we actually ended up in 2020. In 2020, we were at 61,000. That study back in 2000 thought that we would be at 67,000 in 2020. It estimates that in 2025 we'll be at 69,000, which is a 12% increase. 2030, 77,000, again 12%, and in 2040, 87,000, which is again 12% increase. If inmate population tracks with the overall population as a percent of 0.3%, of 87,000, we would be in an inmate total of 261. I was reading an article from Bell County Sheriff, and he mentioned that inmate population typically tracks with overall population growth. With that said, if we use the numbers we are thinking about for our inmate population, and I'd spoken with Sheriff Deeds, and he gave me some numbers that he had, and he gave me a range, so I used the middle. The middle of the range that Sheriff Deeds provided for 2030 and 2040, inmate population of 375 in 2030 and 450 in 375 in 2030 and 450 in 2040. That would be a 0.48% of the population and a 0.52% of the population. Is there a reason that we think that inmate population will grow at a much faster pace as a percent of the population? Using 210 for the average of 2020, that equates to a 78% growth in inmate population compared to a 12% growth in the total population for 2030. And then another 20% growth in inmate population compared to a 12% growth in overall population in 2040. So that's my question. I know that's a lot of numbers, and it just...
That is a lot of numbers, but I'm going to throw some additional ones in here that I hope I don't confuse this.
Yeah, it just, when you look at the numbers, it doesn't...
But you're going down the right track, because it sometimes doesn't look like we're following the logic here on the population, or that we're missing something. But the worst thing that the sheriff has to deal with, and the worst thing the jail administrator has to deal with, or that the state as a whole has to deal with the inmate population. If you look at the inmate population reports, to begin with, that the capacity in the population is that the population is usually less than capacity. But all these jails are full. They're not taking inmates. And what is that reason? Is that because, and I'm kind of stepping back out of the architectural role here and more in the jail consulting role that I've been in for 30, 40 years now. And again, more of being the deputy director at the jail commission previously, and not talking to you as an architect right now. In looking at this both statewide and in here in Hood County, we have to look at not only just the population, but also the classification of inmates and the segregation of those inmates, and then on the fluctuation for that what you might call peak capacity. That fluctuation of that capacity during the week. It was talked about a little bit earlier of those inmates. On some days it's going to go up. Some days we have court. Some days, the court is going to release more inmates. Some days they're going to be sentenced. Some days that we are able to send inmates to the prison system. Sometimes they don't pick them up. All those things are going to be fluctuations in our jail capacity or our population. Our capacity may be even here, but that inmate capacity, inmate population, we don't really have that control over. So sometimes when we're looking at that, whether we're looking at that 3 per thousand on those inmates, or we're looking at whether that's 3.25 or 2.8, wherever that number comes in, that 3 per thousand right now, or 3.5, depending on where we're at in more urban areas, that holds pretty well as far as the actual number of inmates. But then you have to take that and correlate that to the available beds and the compartmentation within your jail. We're trying to compartmentalize this to make smaller jail cells, like 8 capacity and 12 capacity, and fewer dormitories, so we can get a higher percentage. The jail commission typically recommends that you do not operate beyond that 80% to 90% capacity, because you're not able at that point to really able to properly classify and segregate inmates. without having to make some adjustments or do a lot of overrides, which they don't like you to do overrides in your classification system. So that's one of the issues that we get. Every day we have people coming in the jail and be released from the jail, and that population is fluid. And we're having to assign people in that jail to certain cells. And it's really, a matching game of who works well with other inmates. So even if they are of a certain classification, you still have to play the get-along game as to those inmates that are not going to be fighting or being disruptive. You also have the gang management. And I spent a week with the National Institute of Corrections of going through just what does that impact have, on the jail population, on the gang management. But it's getting worse and worse and worse on what we're seeing on gang management. Mental health is also affecting that as to how we're able to populate those cells. So that's another thing in the programming that we put in some special types of cells, some more two-person cells to be able to deal with some mental health capacity there. So all these things do start affecting that. But you're right that we're looking at that 3 per 1,000 in the population, but then we're looking at a peak capacity of about 10%. We're looking at a classification about 10 to 15%. So that's getting to another 20 to 25% on top of that total population. That really pushes that more up to that 3.5 to 3.75% is really where that's more of a realistic number there.
Yeah, I guess the number that really stood out to me going through this was that a 78% growth in inmate population compared to a 12% growth in the total population. I think we need to study that a little bit more and make sure that we're sizing this correctly. And also the other thing that I had a question about was the male-female ratio. We're currently at 85-15. Your base projection shows 75-25 and then up to 31% female. That's a 400% increase in the female population of inmates.
That probably goes back to that equal opportunity criminal activity in the female population, ma'am. And I'm not being smart aleck about that. That is a phenomenon that we are seeing statewide. And that is something that the jail commission is really pushing more on us. If we go back 20 years ago, what the jail commission was looking at back then was 8 to 10% of our population was going to be designed for architects now. Is that the jail commission was telling us 8 to 10% for female population.
What was it?
8 to 10%. When we were looking at 10 years ago, they're saying 10 to 12%. Now they're looking at 15 to 20% right now is what they're saying. And most recently they said, well, 25% may not get us there. When we're looking at the numbers that you have in your jails right now, that number is continuing to increase to the 20 to 30% of female population. So it is going up quite rapidly.
So we're looking at, with a population of, say, 87,000 in 2040, 120 female inmates, which is from 30, which is about average what we have today.
Can I touch up on that?
Sure. I'm just trying to
absolutely,
make this
and your
make
questions are
sense.
very valid. Wayne, everything he's saying, 100% true. Everything he's bringing up, absolute facts when it comes to classifications and everything like that, the get-along situations, the types of classifications and separations, mental health, it's all correct, it's all true within the jail. I will tell you that, and I don't have the accurate numbers, obviously today, I'll be more than happy to look them up and just to calculate all that and to figure this all out. But as for who we arrest, I personally can tell you that not only Hood County residents get arrested in Hood County, okay? We have 377 running through this county, a lot of individuals coming from the Metroplex coming through here. We have a lot of people that live in other counties and other cities, not just Hood County. And from my experience as well, dealing with getting those people out of jail, if they don't live in Hood County, well, if I'm a bondsman, in my own opinion, I'm not going to risk bonding this person out who lives in Tyler, because I'll probably never see him again, and neither will we probably. So to bond those people out that don't live in Hood County is seldom in between if they don't have a significant amount of money to be able to do it. They can't bond themselves out depending on the charge. You know, and we all know the majority that are incarcerated aren't misdemeanors, aren't petty thefts. They're your high-end felonies and drug offenses and assaults. So, and they're coming all over the place, not just Hood County. So, and like I said, I can get those numbers of how many we currently have that don't live here, and I can backtrack that for however I can try to do that research. We can all do that research. I think we all need to get together in all of this. Obviously, we can't all do it, but you know, there's solutions to this and to get the answers to your questions.
Well, I was asking you if that data could be sent electronically so I could.
Right, and I sent you the email this morning. I hadn't had a chance to respond to you, and I'd like to talk to you later about trying to figure that out.
So one more question about the population demographics is the throughput of the court. I know we all know it got bogged down during COVID, and that may be why 2021 spiked so much. So do we anticipate that we will work through the backlog in the court and that this could provide a little bit of a breathing room for you in the near future as the court works off the backlog from COVID?
Here in the last month, the district judge is working with the county court law judge to take some of those cases, and so they're trying to get that work down as fast as they can. We just told them we can't do anything about it. In my opinion, I think we're definitely past that stage when we need to think about a second district court. But with county court law, with their capabilities, being able to help whittle down some stuff, then that's going to make a difference.
Could help.
You know, we have, I think, 18 or 19 in here over a year as of right now, and that's been pretty consistent. So a couple of them are waiting on appeals. It just takes time to get them through the system. So that's not our fault. We just told them all that. And with what Eric was saying, we have these people. That's why I started the street crimes unit a few years ago. We're dealing with people out of Erath County, Fort Worth, Denton County. Just people are coming from all over, passing through the county and bringing drugs and spreading hate and discontent. And then so we end up getting a lot of these people arrested. They're arrested on Hood County charges, state jail stuff, state or felony stuff most of the time. So they're in our jail. We can't send them back to, well, you live in Denton County, we got to send you to Denton. Or you live in Erath, we can't send you to Erath because it's our charge from here in this county. So that's, the population has a lot to do with it. I think as it grows, then crime's going to grow too. So we just do the best we can at trying to keep up with it.
We just need to get a good number on what we really think it's going to grow by 400% for the women and 78% overall. So.
Yeah, we'll do the best we can to try to figure that out.
Okay, for ongoing costs, now this is a good, document to help us analyze that, and I don't know if we have the answers to this today, but it's just something we need to know is what is the estimate for ongoing maintenance and support, staff salaries, additional vehicles, increased utility costs, et cetera, to run a new jail? Where is that factored into the overall cost to the taxpayers? I asked the sheriff about the ratio. It's 48 to 1, 48 prisoners to 1 guard, so that's going to go up if we have 432. It actually goes from, well, I don't know if this is, I just used the math, 48 to 1. It looks like 4 to 192 and 8 for 384. Does that sound right?
At one time, is that what you're, I'm sorry?
Yeah, at one time. So how many, what's the ratio of staff?
So, yes, per jail standards, 1 to 48, 1 officer to 48 inmates. Now, we have to understand that if you want to look at it at 192, that may look like 3.5 officers or 4 officers.
Yeah,
okay?
that's what I had for.
That is enough to supervise those inmates. That is not including your control officer that controls all the doors and everything like that, that's another position. The booking officers that does all the bookings for all the intakes, et cetera, that doesn't count either. You're talking about those individuals that just directly have to supervise those inmates.
Okay, so-
So it is 1 to 48, but when it comes to the total amount of staff that you're going to have, depending on the total number of inmates and the operations that you have, it's more than.
So have you guys, and you may not have done this yet, but have you gone through the process of figuring out what the staffing requirements would be for a 432-bed jail?
With every single bed full? No, absolutely not. Not yet.
Or just,
But we
you know, a
definitely
step-
can.
Or
but-
starting out and escalating,
Right.
just a projection of year 5, year 10, year.
Correct. And I can do that, no problem.
Okay. I think that we need to know the overall, not just the construction costs, but the ongoing cost to the taxpayers as well.
Of course.
Okay, so, sorry. I have so many questions, but you guys know me by now. I ask a lot of questions.
Great questions, great questions.
Oh,
I appreciate
and
that you actually read all this.
I think I ran Commissioner
stuff.
one off.
Do you have anything else?
I was looking to Kevin, but he's not there. So here comes Commissioner Andrews. I don't know if he has any.
And I can also run you some quick calculations on what the utilities and operating costs would be aside from staffing.
And yes, that reminds me, I asked Sheriff Deeds about the site prep. There were 2 options in the document, and there hadn't been a decision on which site and what the cost of site prep, or whether the utilities that are there are enough, or.
Right.
So there's some additional costs that need to be taken into account.
Well, we've taken all that into account within the overall estimate, so that's part of that design contingency. That's part of the unknown. We don't really know yet, so that's captured within the design contingency. Really, Wayne had put that together just more as a diagram to show you that, yes, we do have room and we do have options, because that was one of the questions that came up during programming. Well, what if we do all this programming and we can't fit it anywhere?
Right,
So
or-
that was just to give you a model.
Or the infrastructure's not there.
Right.
I mean, utilities, sewer,
Yes, ma'am.
electricity.
Yes, ma'am.
All that.
And we do, within the estimate, we have things for, like, for example, electrical. We have electrical transformer upgrades within the cost estimate because we know this is a bigger facility, and we know we're going to have to do that. Water line upgrades, we know it's a bigger, so we have some of that captured within the meat of the construction cost.
Do you have any questions?
You know what? I don't think my questions necessarily pertain to the proposal, the architectural, any of that stuff. That's not, I think that's, I'm good on that portion of it, so that's not where I had any much concerns.
Okay.
I would just suggest we have this is good information for us to get started with. I think we probably need to have a couple of workshops with digging out some of these other details, get some input from some people in the community. I think we owe it to the taxpayers to vet this out.
Well, and I do want to offer again, if there's no other questions, I want to offer again, our role is to augment the county. That's what we're here for. We're an extension of you all. So if there's any questions that you have, I'm happy to come and sit down with you all one-on-one and walk through any of this with you. This is not the end of the process. This is just another step, right? The first step was, what do we have? Then it was, what does it cost to fix it? Now, what do we need? What's the cost for that? So as you continue evolving down the road, there's going to be more questions, and I'd love to sit down with you and visit on any other questions that come up.
We have some citizens here that have want to speak here. Cynthia Highsmith.
Yes, my name is Cynthia Highsmith, and I want to thank the judge and the commissioners for allowing at every single meeting that folks can come in and speak at large issues and issues that are on the agenda. I think that's so important. I'm so glad you made that change. But I'm here today because at the last court meeting, I heard that there was going to be $100 million approximately spent on a new jail. And when I heard that, I thought, as a taxpayer and a voter, that I knew that at the last election that they voted down the bond elections for the schools. And So in my mind, I'm going, oh my goodness, $100 million on a jail, and we don't have enough elementary schools, and and they want a new stadium, and there's other needs for our children, our future, and so it really concerned me. So I'm glad to hear that you're looking at all the different options, the options of a regional jail or going together with another county and sharing those expenses, some way to get this down. And then another thing in my mind is when I moved here, I came from Fort Bend County and had been through when they, in 2009, when they did open a new jail, and it was for about 1,100 inmates. And at that time, I was involved with NAMI, which there is no NAMI chapter here in Hood County. You have to go to Tarrant County. That's the mental health, the National Mental Health Association Alliance. And I just asking myself, well, what kind of mental health facilities do we have in Hood County? Because when they reviewed the inmates in Fort Bend County, there were so many people that were mentally ill and that really, they really didn't belong in the jail. They needed to be medicated and medicated properly. And I kept thinking, well, I'm sure this is part of a problem in Hood County too. It's not just mentally ill people over in Fort Bend. And then I read our U.S. representative, he put a wonderful article in the Hood County News talking about this very issue and talking about, how many inmates are being held in our county jails, and they can wait up to 2 years before they are put in, before there's a bed at one of the state hospitals for them, a year to 2 years. And I'm just going, well, what are we doing here in Hood County about this? So these are just some of my thoughts. I'm glad that you're really talking about this and looking at all the options that are available. I certainly do hope that, just being on a board of trustees at a big church in Metro Houston, whenever we did an expansion, boy, howdy, we at least talked with 4 architectural firms, and I see that there's one here, and I know you're not to the point of doing bids, but I certainly do hope that you will be talking with a lot of different experts. Just like with the church, there's architectural firms that do churches, and I'm sure there's not just one in this state that does jails. So anyway, I just I'm concerned when I hear $100 million and we can't get something passed for our kids. I'm just going, okay, maybe I want you really to look at it. Thank you.
Walter Curry.
Good morning. I am Walter Curry. I'm a Hood County resident, retired architect with over 45 years of experience in design, construction, project management, and facility planning. Most of that in hospitals, however, 4 jail criminal justice projects that I was a member of the design team on. And I appreciate the opportunity to address the court today with some ideas that you might find helpful. The submittal by AGCM and the architect described a project with a 20-year credibility or lifespan into the year 2042, 2043. Facility planning forms a strategy like that for the ultimate goal of the institution, including phased implementation for longer services, longer futures. The first phase normally is kind of a 5 to 10-year picture, and there's a very good reason for that. Predicting the credibility of a 5-year future is reasonably achievable. But as the more extended future goes into a longer time frame, it's more difficult to predict those conditions. And that's due to the changes in culture, inmate characteristics, medical and mental health treatments that you're going to be dealing with, variations in your male-female ratios, advancements of technology. My goodness, it's overwhelming trying to keep up with that. Changes in the rules and regulations of the criminal justice system and the county population. For a 20-year period, based on imperfect information, that's difficult to deal with. I just witnessed you're in early days here of the design of really productive, robust conversation that you're going to have to continue with to trying to come to terms with it. There was a book in the 60s called Future Shock, and it had to do with an accelerated rate of change. We don't know how to deal with that. It gets very confusing. With all due respect to Mr. Gondek and those of us that do future planning and facility planning, when we get this kind of an influx that we're getting all over Texas, the challenge, immense challenge you're facing right now is not unique to Hood County, right? You know that. When those rates of change happen, we get disoriented, we get confused. His 30 years of references of projections are not as credible as they used to be. And he's here with you trying to float and walk on water about where you're going to be 20 years from now. What I bring to you today is an idea that maybe helps that. And I ask you to consider this kind of a strategy, and Mr. Gondek certainly may have some comment about that. But it enabled the county to respond to evolving change in an effective way. You identify the best facility design and site orientation you can for that full 20-year future facility. You construct the ultimate facility for all of the jail administrative and support services, including law enforcement center, because those functions are more stable and they are not as closely related to exact inmate populations. The inmate housing, however, and this is the stutter step that gives you some advantage for that future you can't see. The inmate housing could be constructed for a 10-year future condition with the ability, and I was encouraged as I expected, that your design expects to expand. It's built to expand. That 10-year future is constructed with the ability to build into that 20-year future as need pushes it, arises. This strategy allows you to construct that ultimate housing that's actually needed, actually construct that housing in the ratio of male and female inmates that's actually needed, because you're 10 years down the road now. You've got a better hold on that. Population influx maybe has leveled off, and that's more predictable. And it also allows you to, at that expanded construction, incorporate the advantages that have come from technology. Your healthcare treatments may have changed. Your management protocols may have progressed. The result of the strategy, hopefully, is a more space-efficient, cost-conscious, management-effective facility for Hood County into the future, because it's allowing you to respond to a more realistic set of conditions that you've lived through and come to terms with. I really appreciate the challenge you're facing, and I appreciate all of you for the time and effort you put into trying to continue to guide this. I heard of those historic efforts to try and get the public to support what needs to happen. I really appreciate the challenge you've accepted to guide this great, beautiful community into the future.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Tina Brown.
Well, I really think most of my questions were answered, but I did. Okay, there we go. How long, what's the time frame on this? I mean, how soon is this building not going to be usable? Do we know that kind of information? I mean, costs are going up every day, it seems like, and I'm just wondering how soon do we have to make this decision? I like the idea of having a workshop.
Well, we're keeping the jail together with duct tape and baling wire right now.
Okay, so
Hoping that we can keep it together.
that's what I'm kind of understanding. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, so if we made a decision today, it would be like, what, 3 or 4 years before we could even, so this seems like time sensitive. We need to get with this. So I like the idea of a workshop and hope that y'all will set one up soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, have y'all finished your presentation? Y'all want to come up here with anything else, Ryan?
Unless there's any questions or anything you'd like us to address from the comments, if we even can, I don't know.
There was one issue that I probably didn't touch on the population, or on the capacity breakdown, that we do know that population between males and female, that ratio between males and female does swing back and forth, and we do have some flex capacity built into this program to allow those beds to be reassigned on an ongoing basis between males and females. So that's one of the things that we have developed over time, because we do see that population go back and forth between up and down before, so we can have the greatest use of bed space. So I did want to touch on that.
I noticed that in your, that's how I figured out that the numbers weren't right, because I was looking at the flex area and so I'm like, wait, this isn't adding up.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
And I just want to say real quickly, too, I appreciate the gentleman's comments about the crystal ball, because especially our estimators, that's something we struggle with every day, especially in the market that we're in now. It's super volatile. And how do you look that far ahead? I mean, it's impossible, right? We just have to put our best guess out there as to what we see the market doing. I will tell you that almost unequivocally, things are going to cost more in 5 years than they do today. That's almost a guarantee. Things never go down. Right? They may level off, they're probably going to keep going up. So one of the things we talked about in the programming was, if we build this now for just the current capacity needs, relying on an addition in 5 years, what happens if the market changes in 5 years? What happens if you can't afford it? What if the price doubles in 5 years, which, by the way, is what it has done in the past 5? The cost has more than doubled for construction in Texas in 5 years. So you could say, let's just do it for today. We'll build the addition when we need it, but what if the money's not there in 5 years? What if the price is through the roof? So from a scale of economies and time, you know, the certainty is now. We know what the costs are now. We know what the market is now. So anyway, I just wanted to appreciate those comments, and we're definitely in agreement with that's tough to predict 20 years. Last thing, sorry, I keep saying last thing. If y'all have not been to the existing jail, I don't know if everybody's toured it, go tour it. I've never been so glad to see daylight as when I walked out of that place. My hat's off to you guys for what you do, your facility staff for what they're doing to keep that facility intact and holding together like it is. I would encourage you to go take a look. So,
I agree.
Thank you very much.
One other comment I'll make, in addition to the expense of having inmates out of county, facilities maintenance has a full-time dedicated staff member that's assigned strictly to the jail. That's his only work assignment, is to keep that thing duct taped and band-aided and baling wire together, because that's what it's taking right now and has been for the last couple of years at least. We have a maintenance facility person assigned to that building that is his only work assignment. And he's busy the whole time, plus on after hours and weekends, if there's a problem that happens. So the fact of it's with duct tape and baling wire is not an exaggeration. And I challenge anybody to go, and especially members of the court, to go inside and look around physically in the building. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you all for your presentation and the questions here. Let's go on to item number 7. consider and take appropriate action to request jail LEC funding options and analysis from Hilltop Securities. Is there anybody here from Hilltop Securities? Okay, do you want to take a shot at this, Ms. Kidd? Have you been talking to them? Okay, well, give us a brief synopsis of what you've been talking about.
Want me to be brief? Yes. Okay, so I've been in contact somewhat with Jim Sabonis over a long time period. At one point, Commissioner Cotton and Commissioner Eagle and I sat down and talked with Mr. Sabonis regarding this, so some information is that far back. You're in a unique position here. You are about to be out of bonded debt. I anticipate paying that off within the next year. So you won't have any debt. So you have enough debt service rate to fund a jail, to also fund if you want to help the fire departments. There's a unique way to do this. You won't borrow all the money up front for a jail. You would do this in stages and segments, and that would help you because in 4 years, you'll have paid Crescent Bypass off, and that frees up $1.18 million to pay on this. In the meantime, before you borrow money, if you're at a point where everything is paid off, then you create a building fund so you don't lose that rate. It won't be a debt service rate, but you will put it someplace so that you will not lose it. Any questions on that? Nanette, I think you understand what I'm talking about. You don't want to lose that debt service rate because it's heck to get them back. So you just capture that and you utilize it somewhere else until you need to put it back as a debt service rate, and that's where your money goes to pay off your debt. A certificate of obligation is something we talked about that can be paid out over 40 years. You don't have to go to the voters for that. All right, questions? Dave?
Anybody else have any questions? Okay.
And before you get Jim here, you kind of need an idea of what direction, how much, where you're going. And then he can give you some ideas on financing. So that's why he's not here. We don't really have a plan yet. And I think I've given you enough information that this is what he would have talked about, but he would have talked much higher level than me.
Okay.
Any questions?
No, we'll arrange maybe a workshop for him to come down here and discuss this with you.
But you've got to have an idea of what direction you're going to go in, how much your startup cost would be, something to give him an idea of how to bid this out.
Well, that's good news about having all the bonded debt paid off. Okay?
That is an accomplishment. We are definitely the envy of a lot of counties. They would like to be in our shoes.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, no actions taken on that. All right. Item number 8, consider and take appropriate action to approve the reappointment of the Hood County Historical Commission for 2023 to 2024 for Rebecca Barnes, Don Grissom, Christy Massey, James Dickens, and Gwen Mabry. We have up here, and we have Miss Christy Massey that's here and wishes to speak. She is presently on the Historical Commission and has been. Miss Massey.
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners. The Hood County Historical Commission is not a political organization. We deal with the historical aspects of this wonderful county. Now, I've only been in this county nearly 49 years because I married into a bunch that had been here since 1860. So I got told about a bunch of the historical stuff, especially on how to pronounce Neri and Mambrino. The first 4 names up there, Rebecca Barnes, Don Grissom, my name, and James Dickens, have been on the board for several years. They all helped with the sesquicentennial, which was a lot of fun, but kind of like giving birth to a sharp-edged baby. We do the historical markers in the county. We're in the process of replacing one of the damaged markers in the county. which has taken 3 years because the state historical people changed companies that build the markers, and they got behind a little bit because of COVID. We put historical markers up. We do the Christmas decorations at the courthouse, which we have not been able to get the nutcrackers that there were some nutcrackers that stood up at the courthouse by each of the steps in. They were great. But over the years, they deteriorated, of course, like many things do over the years. And they're very difficult to get now. I think they're probably made in China. Becky found some this past year, but unfortunately they were 14 feet tall. She couldn't find the normal size ones. And if you got 6 of the 14-foot ones, where would we put them for the rest of the year? So, no. And besides that, they cost too much, and we try to be very careful with Hood County money because every one of us are Hood County taxpayers. Last year, we looked into finding more people outside the Granbury area. Now, Becky and I both live in the south part of Hood County, and James lives north part, and Don east. But we wanted somebody from each part of Hood County. Somebody from Crescent, somebody from Lipan, and somebody from Toller, or that area. Doesn't have to be in their town. Gwen Mayberry, her family has been in that part of the county for a long time. She's from Toller. The lady we got from Lipan could not stay with us because of family health problems. And the gentleman from Crescent, he has had many other things come up, and he has not been able to, so he's not on here. One of our members, Sylvia Hickey, will have her name, but she didn't get her paperwork in on time. May have had something to do with the ice storm, or I'm not exactly sure, but she's been very helpful over the years. But we would appreciate it if you, Judge and Commissioners, put us all back on this board. Okay?
Thank you. So these 5 members, are you saying, are enough with the volunteers that you do have? These 5 members plus the volunteers that you always get, I'll see that would be enough. Okay? Are there any questions or discussion? Do I hear a motion?
Yes, I move that we approve the reappointment to the Hood County Historical Commission for 2023 to 2024 for Rebecca Barnes, Don Grissom, Christy Massey, James Dickens, and Gwen Mabry.
Second.
Okay, motion been made by Commissioner Wilson to approve the reappointment of the 5 people that are named, second by Commissioner Eagle. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Ms. Massey. Okay. Item number 9, receive and discuss status update from IT on 3 projects that were funded on July 15, 2022, Commissioners Court. Number 1, the camera system for the courtrooms. Number 2, the website hosting and refresh, $40,000. The data center cooling replacement, $160,000. No action will be taken. Mr. Drew Whitaker.
Well, I can make this as quick or as drawn out as we need to be. From a high-level perspective, of course, Ms. Annette, she asked me to brief the court on what is going on with these 3 projects. And so from a high-level standpoint, number 1, the camera system, to get an actual live streaming camera system that's up here mounted so that could actually see the whole courtroom. We are working with AVI to do that. The room is currently booked for April. April is the earliest they can get down here unless a project for them falls through. So just to let the court know that it is still on track. We are working towards getting this finished. I don't, I guess real fast, do you want me to just go through them and then ask questions at the end, or do you want me to
Yeah, let's
pause?
just ask
Okay.
questions at the end. There may not be any questions.
Okay. Number two, the website, we are still working towards completing it. Right now, the projection date for the new website refresh is currently in June, July. I'm sure everyone in the county has been getting emails from Andrea. She's a tech that is heading up that project, and of course, she's reaching out to all the departments and stuff if need be, you know, to clear everything up and clean everything up, but so we don't import any bad data during this migration to the new website. So like I said, the projection end date is June, July right now. If you have any more questions, you can ask me about that. And number three is real easy. That one is complete. We are done. The data center cooling is completely done, and so we're running on the new system right now.
Thank you.
So if there's any other questions or anything, just let me know. My door is
Okay.
always open.
Any other questions? Good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Drew Whitaker. Okay. All right, number 10, consider and take appropriate action to approve the purchase of a 2022 Ford F-350 Super Duty and uprigging to replace a 2017 Ford 250 damaged in a motor vehicle collision, cost not to exceed $78,000 to be paid from Fund 55. Jeff Young. Fire
Judge,
Marshal.
Commissioners, hopefully mine goes as quick and easy as the last one. So on the 21st of January, I had a vehicle that was actually totaled in a motor vehicle collision. I initially was told that there was not a 250 in the state to be had. Told me it would be 2024 before I could even consider ordering one, at which time it would then take another 6 months to get one delivered. 2 days later, he called and told me that he had a 350 that became available from another canceled order that he had there on the lot. So that's what I'm asking for, is to be able to purchase that vehicle to replace the one that was totaled in the wreck.
Okay, and as I understand it, the other person that collided with this vehicle of yours was totally at fault, has USAA insurance, and hopefully we're going to get the subrogation on that. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
So, but we want to go ahead and get the money down now to go ahead and buy it?
Correct, so I can go ahead and get them started on the build on the truck. I'm not even going to start to begin to be able to tell you that I know how subrogation is going to work. But my guess is all of that stuff is going to happen amongst the insurance companies over probably the next year or so.
It usually doesn't take that long if there's no personal injury involved in it.
Well, they've already totaled the truck. They're going to give us 33 and change, I think, for the damaged vehicle.
They've already offered a settlement, so the subrogation would just get us back our deductible.
It will be the difference between the deductible, and if we're not, they will be able to cover any of the cost to have the stuff removed from the old truck and put in the new truck.
The point is that you need to replace this 250.
Yes, sir.
And the fact is, we're getting one now because we're going to have of course, it's been raining a lot, but we don't know what's going to happen this summer. We remember last summer, so. Okay, any other discussion?
Yeah, have you talked to them? Have you spoken with them yet about getting any of the old equipment off of the?
At length. In fact, I'm going to have the old truck delivered to the dealership. They are going to remove and salvage any of the parts that they can so that I don't have to order a lot of the parts that are going to be built into that truck.
So this 77,000 is actually or 78,000 is the
Correct.
top end of the
That's
estimate with not getting anything off. That's buying everything new.
That is a full quote price on if they were to build it from the ground up with all new equipment.
And that doesn't net out the settlement from the insurance company.
Right,
So the total bottom line to the county will be much further south than 77,000.
Quite a bit less. It'd be speculation on my part, but I'm guessing it was probably going to cost us less than $30,000 out of pocket by the time it's all said and done.
Any other questions? Do I hear a motion?
Yeah, Judge, I'll make a motion that we approve the purchase of a 2022 Ford F-350 Super Duty and uprigging to replace the 2017 Ford F-250 damaged in motor vehicle collision. Cost not to exceed $78,000 to be paid from Fund 55.
A motion been made by Commissioner Andrews to purchase the 2022 Ford F-350 and uprigging to replace the 2017 Ford F-250 damaged in a motor vehicle collision, cost not to exceed $78,000, second by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, sir. I may have set a record today. It was quick.
That's right. Thank you. Okay, item number 11, discuss and take appropriate action to approve the request for facility maintenance to purchase two 2023 Chevrolet trucks not to exceed $78,000 for both vehicles from Fund 55. These vehicles will replace the 2005 Ford pickup, housekeeping, and the 2005 Chevy pickup from maintenance. You mean these trucks, like say, like Waylon Jennings, didn't he say should last 10 years like a Chevy should? So these
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm kind of down right now. I've got one in the shop, it's been in the shop for about 2.5, nearly 3 months. For lack of a better term, the transmission got wing nuts on it. They pull it out every time I turn around. They haven't found the problem, but right now they think they have. The other one, which is the Ford 2004, 92,000 miles, my custodial crew uses that. As you know, all the buildings are not real close, so I have been able to utilize the mule that y'all were gracious enough to give me about 2 years ago for the area around here, but now the other trucks wore out. The heater core is out of it right now. I'm not saying it can't be repaired. I haven't got the estimate on it yet. We think it's a heater core. We've took the dash out. We've changed switches. We do work on our own vehicles the best we can. Well, right now it's down, and we're using a pool vehicle for the, I'm pretty sure that pool vehicle is the one that the commissioners use. Well, I got your vehicle right now. So the two trucks I'm asking for are Chevrolets to replace the ones that I'm having trouble with. I have a third one. It has, the brakes are locking up on it. We've had it in the shop, had work done to it, still not repaired. I need to send it to another shop to try to find out what that problem is. Y'all were gracious enough back in 20 to give me two 3/4 ton pickups for two of the techs. I had a plan at that time to buy two more. COVID hit. Budgets changed, things happened, didn't look good. So, given the light, I've kind of thought that maybe now was a good opportunity due to I've seen us buying some vehicles in the past. And
well, I think you squeezed all the life out of them, 18 years. It's pretty good, isn't it?
we do have the oldest fleet in the county, and we're quite proud of that when they run.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think you said a new deal on
Like
here.
a caveat there when they run.
I think the needs here, have you checked with Becky to see if there's...
I have talked to Becky, and Becky, we had talked earlier. I didn't do anything till now because she did ask that I wait until after the first of the year to even do this. All
right. She'll ask you to wait until next year too, but we need to move on. Okay.
I mean, there is
All right.
that option if, is there any way that this could be put into the budget so that it's something that's already planned for versus?
It can always be put into the budget, and if that's what I need to do, I mean, I guess I got kind of a bad vibe. I've seen a lot of trucks go through here that weren't on the budget, so I thought it was a good time for me to ask for one. If that's not correct, I can spend some more money. I only have I started out this year with a $4,500 budget for vehicles. I'm down to $2,300 on that. I'll probably have to come back to y'all and ask if I can move some money from somewhere else to complete the repair process.
And you have been kind of kicking this around for a couple of years on these
Oh,
vehicles.
yeah, it's been
You've-
going on
I know
for-
that,
yeah,
I've heard about them a couple of times, and
Yeah,
And in this budget?
I think without, and help me out, I mean, I think without specifically saying that we're looking for a truck for, facility maintenance, I think that, yeah, it was brought up and discussed and rolled in and just kind of, I don't know if earmarked as I don't know if you keep a tally sheet over there or what, but just kind of.
We have a lot of discussion during budget hearings on capital project items.
No.
We'll kick around, throw it, and I always make sure that, in my opinion, that we have enough money to take care of any needs for the county out of capital projects, because like this, we can't get vehicles. He's found some. If you don't get them, they may not be there in a year, or the cost I've never seen costs go up like I have in the last year. So if you've got a bird in the,
actually have two birds.
Got the trucks located now, or they're?
Yes, sir. That's part of this is, I've located two. There's a gray one that's in the state of Texas, and there's a white one that is at the factory preparing to be shipped. So in all, they'd probably make their way here in about a month.
Aren't we starting to see that supply line kind of refresh and
Not on fleet vehicles. If he originally was, likes to get 3/4 tons, just like the fire marshal wanted a 3/4 ton. You bring those up and they're like, well, you might be allowed to order a 24 in 6 months, 8 months. You're looking well into 2024 to get 3/4 tons especially. True, there's more vehicles on the lot, but the fleet allocations are still extremely tight because they don't make as much money on them. They can throw them on a car lot and make thousands and thousands more. So when you find something, it's kind of a rare deal. So that's
Okay.
what I wanted to add.
Do I hear a motion?
Yes, I move that we approve the request for facilities maintenance to purchase two 2023 Chevrolet trucks with a total cost not to exceed $78,000 from Fund 55.
Second.
Okay, a motion been made by Commissioner Wilson to approve the request for facility maintenance to purchase two 2023 Chevrolet trucks not to exceed $78,000 for both vehicles from Fund 55, second by Commissioner Andrews. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Jay Riley, okay?
Thank you.
Keep that jail operating.
Yeah. We'll do
Easy
that.
to say, right? Easy to say? Okay.
Next up.
All right. Item number 12, discuss and approve removal of two large cottonwood trees at Acton Annex next to the Development Director's Office. Work is budgeted and will be funded by maintenance. Commissioner Wilson.
At the back part of the Acton Annex property, there are two large cottonwoods. One of them is in the process of dying, which means limbs will be coming down based on wind conditions. The second one is overhanging part of the back portion of the buildings on the backside, especially where development is, and, runs a risk of, parts of it coming off and damaging the building, if it does happen. And so, therefore, it's best to go ahead and take them down totally. And Jay has gotten three estimates from different people about taking them down. And you'll be coming out of the maintenance budget.
So basically, it'll be around $4,400 for the removal. That's a bid I got. I just talked to the gentleman, and that's still a good bid. The highest bid I got was $6,800. No, I'm sorry. The highest bid I got was $8,000. So you can see how big it was. Some people look at it. I thought the $4,400 was a good deal. And just a caveat on that. our insurance has $5,000 deductible, so we're going to pay $5,000 if the tree lands on top of the building or if we decide to take it down.
That's a good point.
And you also mentioned that the cotton is
It's hard on them air
playing havoc with
conditioning.
the air conditioners, which is causing us more maintenance cost as
It
well.
has. We'll spend more time out there in the spring just raking all of the cotton off of the condensing units. And
The bids that you've got, based on what I read, also say, includes full cleanup, haul off, and grinding the stumps down.
Yes, sir, and I mean, actually, I did talk to the guy from Integrity because he had cut his budget pretty close, and I questioned that.
Yes, sir.
And the other two, I didn't tell them to grind the stumps, and the reason I didn't tell them to grind the stumps is because it's right there at the edge of the creek. Even though it is on our property, it's at the edge of the creek. I don't see any reason to try to get in there and grind those stumps out. What the best mood is to remedy the stumps and kill them, and they'll be fine. It's on the embankment side. I don't see any problem. It'd be hard to get a machine in there, and he was very much thankful that we'd decided, because they're large.
Yes, they are.
Very large. So we won't be grinding stumps. They will haul everything away. And they did take into consideration that there is the highline wire running between them. They took that into consideration, and my understanding is they were going to contact, I believe that's the co-op out there, I'm not sure.
United Co-op.
But they're going to contact those folks and work with them on it, so.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. Good deal.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I'll make the motion to remove the two large cottonwood trees and annex at the Development Director's office.
Okay. You seconded?
Yes.
Okay, motion been made by Commissioner Samuelson to approve the removal of two large cotton trees at the annex, work to be budgeted and funded by maintenance, second by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion? Not all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Carries 5-0. Now, this is the one I've been really looking for, the last one. Discuss and take appropriate action to authorize Hood County Road Operations to install a 440-foot right turn lane with new striping on Acton Highway onto Highway 4 intersection. This will facilitate TxDOT to install a traffic control lights at this intersection. The City of Granbury is providing payment for the material, and Road Ops is only responsible for installation labor. So,
Okay, this is the Acton Highway, Highway 4 intersection where the curve on Highway 4 curves, Acton Annex comes into it. This, this installation of the turn lane, I've been talking with TxDOT for well over a year now to try to get a light at that location because of the number of accidents there. Some of them are minor, quite a few of them are major, and in 2021 there were 2 fatalities. But this way, by adding in talking with TxDOT first, they said right now we don't have the budget, we're waiting on the legislators to approve it. What they said was if the county can get the turn lane installed, then they have an ongoing open contract where they can get the lights installed, and that will make that intersection a much safer, thoroughfare right there with a controlled turn, both off of Acton Highway and off of Highway 4 onto Acton Highway via, a light installation. The installation, they're saying if the turn lane is in, initially they were saying before the end of the year. I got an email Friday saying it may be in the first quarter of next year. I've been talking with the engineer trying to push that back as we get that intersection, get that widened to have a turn lane put in, then I think we can push on them some more and get it, a lot quicker than what they're initially talking, and based on the conversations we've had. And that's where we're at. The city, I will make it clear, This intersection is physically in the city limits of Granbury. I met with the city manager, the mayor, and TxDOT about, 2 months ago now, and the discussion was, the city says, we will pay for the material. I got with Don Lenny, giving them the requirements that TxDOT required for that turn lane to be constructed with, and he has given me that number for the material, and then the number for restriping the road. And the city manager, because he's already got budget to do that, is turned in a request for the check for the material. So that's, basically that's where we're at this point. And it will enhance not only city, traffic on there, but more importantly, it will enhance the safe travels for county personnel that use both of that intersection going both ways. Because a lot of people from Decordova, Pecan, and the eastern side of the county use that intersection quite, on a regular basis. And like I say, it's been continual issues. I know I personally worked an accident in September that was a 5-vehicle accident in which one person had to be care flighted in to Fort Worth. Worked another one that I just happened to come by that happened in December, a 3-vehicle, which 3 people were transported to Fort Worth, including 1 child. So, it is an ongoing issue that needs to be, and the light will help in that regard.
Okay. Mr. Lenny, I mean, you work and talk with everybody so you can easily furnish, or you can furnish the labor to do this, correct?
Correct, sir.
Okay. So the county will not be out any money. Really, just the labor for your road ops, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion?
I think this is a good idea to like, when I talked to the TxDOT representative, she said that there was no funding, as Commissioner Wilson said, and it would be more than 4 years before they could get to it. So I think I agree with the concept overall, but what I'm concerned about is getting it in writing, that we need to have an interlocal agreement with the city to ensure that we know what each other's
County attorney has already drafted, it's right here.
All right, well, that wasn't attached to the agenda, so I haven't had a chance to look at that. So I think we need a chance to review the...
Mr. Mills, you have looked at this interlocal agreement. In fact, did you draft it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you don't have any question with the legality of doing this, do you?
Right, okay, so just a few things. When Jack reached out to me, I felt a little under the gun to try to get it to be in your packets on time, and I guess I don't know what happened.
I don't have a copy of it.
So I did a real short one-page interlocal. I left off a lot of legalese and things like that. I just kind of made it real short and to the point. Just, we're making this agreement. I didn't know the total at the time, and I just left that blank for Jack to fill in, $4,000.
It's $4,909.25.
Right. So I sent that over to Jack after doing my research of the statutes, and Don Lenny helped me with that. And so, yeah, I think this should be a good document for y'all to work with. And I think to Nanette's point, this would just be between us and the city. This is just to sort of pave the way, no pun intended, for TxDOT to do their work. But I drive that road often, and my thought would be, even if there is no traffic light, it would still be beneficial for the flow of traffic to have the turn lane anyway. Yes. And then even if it is 3 years from now, 4 years from now, I mean, we're better off doing this anyway.
I agree.
So while you're up there,
yes,
I now have a question on how the items worded on the agenda. It doesn't say anything about signing an interlocal agreement.
All under the take appropriate action again?
Yeah, I mean, it's not worded great, but I mean, it's under the, I guess, appropriate action to authorize road ops to install. I mean,
it doesn't authorize the judge to sign an interlocal agreement.
Yeah,
That's the part I'm tripping on.
Right. I mean, I think we may have somewhat put the cart before the horse when I think we had some of the wording set up to move forward, and then it was like, hey, do we need an interlocal? And then I get with Don Lenny, and I'm reading the statutes, and I'm like, yeah, we better do the interlocal and have some paperwork on that for me to feel comfortable with it. And so then I sent that over, and, Jack took that and said, that's good, but I don't think the item was reworded.
Would you be opposed to?
That was after
waiting?
I got the
Right,
statute.
yeah.
You
I'll tell
provided
you
the
this,
statute.
if one person gets seriously injured or killed while we're stalling about this, when we've had to take appropriate action, and you've already discussed that appropriate action would include that, and it's only between the county and the city, I think we should sign it and get it going. That's what I think. I mean, if one person got injured out there seriously, it's worth it to get going. That's my position. And you have taken the position of appropriate action.
I think it addresses it, the public knows, what we're ultimately.
Statute allows it.
Right, the statute not only allows it, but says that we need, right. So, anyway, anything else?
Any other discussion, or do I hear a motion?
I make a motion that we approve and authorize Hood County Road Operations to install a 140-foot right turn lane with new striping on Acton Highway onto Highway 4 intersection. And then this will facilitate TxDOT to install traffic control lights at this intersection, with the city of Granbury providing payment for the material and road ops is only responsible for the installation labor.
And then I'd like to amend that motion to say, and also authorize the judge to sign an interlocal agreement with the city of Granbury that lays out the work of the county and the city.
Second.
Okay. But the amendment of authorizing the county judge to sign the local agreement, second by Commissioner Eagle. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much. The meeting is adjourned.